Co, welcome. Hello.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing great, thanks. So I
Thank you.
saw it just said opposition only. I would be that opposition. So,
Welcome to the party. It's good to have you.
absolutely, absolutely.
What
I'm
would you like to
always
talk
open to the
about?
discussion. Really anything at all. I'll actually say that my fiance is a Democrat and I'm a hardcore Republican. So, we have this type of dynamic within our relationship all day, every day. So it's always interesting to kind of see it from somebody else's side because to be truthful, all of our friends are Republicans as well. So
So he's like the lone Democrat, just toughing it out.
he really is actually. All of our friends.
Oh, you went muted. Now you're back.
Yeah, sorry. I was actually him beeping in.
Oh, tell him I got this. Tell
Yep.
him.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
That's
he
all right.
was he was actually beeping in.
That's all right. So what do you guys mostly disagree on then? That seems like there's some issues that seems it would be really hard to have a relationship with. Some of the more divisive issues. Where do you guys find like common ground? Are you there?
Well, I'm actually having a really hard time connecting. I'm not quite sure what's going on my end, but it's a really, really lagged repeat.
Do you want to drop and come back up? It's probably because you got a phone call. Why don't you just drop and I'll bring you right back up.
Okay.
Do you guys hear that plane? That plane is flying low this morning. I'll bring her right back up. This is a good opportunity for me to turn on my air conditioner also. Let's see. Oh, Will May, I tried to click on you and you disappeared. You want to send that request again? Because I don't see in the. Will May, will you send that request one more time? There we go. Thank you. There we go. Now it's working. Maybe. How's that?
Yeah, that's lots better.
Good.
So I heard you ask right before it kind of weirded out on me. What is the biggest thing that we disagree on?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that question has a lot of depth.
Okay.
Um, we really disagree on what events have played out, and I think that that's largely due to how the media portrays certain events having taken place and what's reported on, each broadcast. So it's interesting. I feel like that's super interesting that we both disagree on how things played out. They say that there's like three truths: theirs, yours, and what really happened. So I found that really interesting between us. But I think right now we actually had a discussion earlier today about the southern border. So I
Okay.
think that's our biggest hot topic right now.
Okay. What's your concern about the southern border, I guess?
Well, I think that we were kind of going over numbers, right? And let me be clear. I see that there's a lot of people like to kind of jump in on the comments and jump down the
Yeah.
throat of the opposition. But guys, instead of
Just
jumping down
we I
throats,
kind of I kind
yeah.
of have a rule on mine that we don't read the comments when we're talking to each other.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
Otherwise
that.
it
All
just
right.
gets it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Well,
all
let's
right.
keep going then.
It makes it easier because there is a
I,
lot of stuff that happens in the comments. So
Absolutely. So, what our discussion was in depth today about was the immigration that took place during Trump era and Biden era. And, you can go on to the Border Customs Protection website, and the data goes back to about 2020, and we can see where from 2020 into Biden's administrations, the number was a fraction of what it is that we have as far as meetings and encounters that take place on the border.
hmm
And, whenever Biden came into office, he drew back a lot of those policies that Trump had enacted as far as, asylum seekers seeking asylum need to stay in their own country until then, and now we don't have these policies. And it was my statement that the problem that we are facing right now with immigration is a direct result of the administration's policies or lack thereof. And he tended to disagree with that, saying that he feels like it's not necessarily the administration's fault, whereas I completely blame the administration.
Why do you completely blame the administration?
Well, if we go back to 2021, where we had Arizona bringing in shipping containers and Abbott on Texas building letting, homeowners that had property along the border build their own walls as a sense of security. The Biden administration took out lawsuits suing these states. So the Biden administration has spent money suing. Hold on just a second. Let me get something to drink. I'm sorry.
You're
Whoop.
good.
So, the administration has taken out and using funds to sue these states, landowners,
Yeah,
really.
like I live in Arizona. You understand why they sued, right?
Well, yeah, it's because, the folks that are in Arizona put up these shipping containers, and it basically went against what the administration had said is that, we weren't going to
No,
put that
it's
there.
because they were putting up shipping containers on not only federal lands, but tribal land. They were putting up shipping containers on land that they didn't own. You can't do that. You can't just go make a wall on land that you don't own. I mean, clearly, in any other scenario, like you would agree that that's bad, right? Like if I just went to some random land and I put up shipping containers to draw a wall in between that, you'd be like, no, you can't do that. That's not your land. It's federal land. Or in Arizona, we have a lot of tribal land. That's what the lawsuit was for, and it wasn't that big. It was 2.1 million, I think.
I mean, I think it's worth noting the ones that were affected by the lawsuit as to whether or not, because I don't know. I didn't, obviously,
Well, it was
I
just
don't know, but I think it would be worth it
Arizona
to
paid
see
it.
it.
The
Right,
state
but
of Arizona paid it.
I think it would be worth it to see if tribal members who were having an influx of immigrants coming through their land, you know, were they
It
in
doesn't matter if
opposition of
they
it?
it doesn't matter if they liked it or not. You can't do it. You can't just bring
Well,
shipping
I'm not
containers
necessarily. I get
and
that.
put
I'm
it
not
on federal or
arguing.
tribal lands, right?
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, do you think that the tribal members there may have been, exposed to the same types of frustrations and crime and robbery that was taking place in other parts along the border?
I have no idea, but like I can tell you I live in Arizona and I can tell you also that these when you look at crime, when you look at the statistics on the border, it seems to me that the biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats on this is that Republicans rely heavily on stories. They want to tug at your heartstrings with stories of crime. That's what they do. But when you look at like, you'd have to explain to me how more encounters than ever before is not evidence of Border Patrol doing their job better.
That's actually, I find it funny because that was actually the same statement that he made, right? Was that we have Border Patrol that's doing the job better because of the increase in the number of encounters. But the increase in the number of the encounters is an effect caused by the laxed policies that were put in place by the administration. Under Trump's
Which
administration,
policies
everybody
though?
knew that they
Like
couldn't come.
which policies though?
Well, he enacted policies where if you're going to, apply for asylum, you could remain within the United States. If you were come across by anybody, as far as border protection, unless you have a felony, you're not deported back into, your country of origin.
For asylum, right? Yeah, but that's like that's international law, right?
No, that wasn't the law under
It's
Trump's
our
administration. It was under Biden's administration
no,
that was the law.
it was the law under Trump's administration. He didn't enforce it. There's been no law. The law was you're still allowed to be an asylum seeker and come here, right? Are you advocating that like asylum seekers not be allowed to come here?
No, the law was that if you applied for asylum, you had to wait in your own country to be granted the
Yeah,
asylum.
but you're not allowed to do. But our law that was his rule. But our law is you have to in order to apply for asylum, you have to be here.
I
That is
don't.
actually the law. You have to be here to apply for asylum.
Can you reference it with a number?
Sure. What do you mean with a number?
Well, like a statute code.
I can pull it up. Does anybody have it in the Discord? I can see. I do have a Discord that helps on that. Or I can Google it. Let me just pull up the Discord, see if anybody has it. But while I'm pulling that up,
Sure.
why do you have a problem with people coming here looking for asylum?
It's not that I have a problem with people coming here looking for asylum. I think that was a mix of words. My issue is that we don't vet the people that are coming here for asylum because, they say a lock is just to keep an honest person out. A burglar's going to make their way in if they want to make their way in. Somebody who's trying to make their way in as, a person that's not of good taste, why would they not attempt to do so through seeking asylum? If it's more of a lax
How
background.
so the code, by the way, it's 8 U.S. Code 1158. Any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States, whether or not at a designated port of arrival, and including an alien who is brought to the United States after having been interdicted in international or United States waters, irrespective of such alien status, may apply for asylums in accordance with this section where applicable. Right? So you have to be here.
I'm sorry. Hold on just a moment. I'm sure that you can understand that was a word full. Do you mind reading out that statute code again?
Yeah, so let me get to the part. Any alien who is
Well, just the code so that I can read
oh
it on
yeah,
my
it's
end.
8
Sure.
U.S. Code 1158. So if you look at one general,
Okay, an
clearly it says
overview
like
of the
they have to be
statutory.
physically present in the United States, right?
Let's see. Give me just one moment. So it's physically. In the overview that's listed on csreports.congress.gov, this is actually stating that you can apply for asylum whether you are or not in the United States, regardless of what your immigration status is while you are in the United States, if you choose to apply for asylum while you're in the United States. But it does not say that you must be in the United States in order to apply for
Where did you
asylum.
pull that from? You could be right.
That is crsreports.congress.gov, an
Okay, so
overview of the statutory bars to asylum, limitations on applying for asylum, Part 1, September 7th of 2022.
okay, so even if that's the case, why would we change the rule to say like you can't be here? It looks like both are an option, right? So you're saying that
Correct.
if Donald Trump was saying that you can't come here, you have to apply for asylum first, then he's breaking the law, right?
Well, no, because that law was written by Joe Biden again on September 7th of 2022.
Okay,
That's
but
the
this
dated
is U.S.
thing.
code. This is U.S. Code 1158, which was in place with Donald Trump, that says that they
Okay,
must be
that's the
right,
statutory code that I just cited. That's the statutory code that I just cited. That code can be
right. But if you're telling somebody that
rewritten
if you're
multiple times
but
depending
if
on
you're
which administration's in the
so are you
office.
saying that Donald Trump rewrote that code to say that you cannot apply for citizen or for asylum in this country?
No, I'm saying that Donald Trump wrote that code such that if you are seeking asylum, you must wait until you are approved to enter the country under asylum status.
Where was that his executive order?
That is correct.
Okay, and was that executive order overridden? I don't know.
It was. It was
Okay.
brought down by President Biden whenever he went in. So
Okay,
again,
so it's gone. So it's gone.
correct. But again, this,
Okay,
like I
so
stated
now I just
before,
want to
it's
know.
under
I
what
wait.
administration
So
is
I want
in
to know.
there.
I don't know how much of this. This is not something I'm an expert at. So I don't know if you're getting it right or I'm getting it right. But my question is like, why do you think it's important to keep people out of the like? Why do you think it's important to say like you can't come here to seek asylum?
That's again, you're mixing the words. It's not that you cannot come here to
Oh,
seek
I'm being
asylum.
told this was due to COVID. Is this was this part of Title 42?
No, this was extended. This was not part of Title 42. No, that was due in the Muslim travel ban was Title 42.
No,
This is strictly
no
asylum at the
Title
port at
40
the
no Title
southern
42
border.
was not the Muslim ban.
Well, this is strictly at the southern border for those who are seeking asylum or asylum to come into the United States anywhere. I think that we're overcomplexing this really because the fact of the matter is that I'm not saying that you should not come here to seek asylum.
But
I
you
am
said wait,
saying
but you said that that's like we changed the law and that's what caused this problem.
no, I'm saying that multiple changes of multiple laws caused multiple problems. Okay?
Okay. So what is
You asked what laws were changed and I gave four examples. This is the one that you chose to discuss.
right? So let's go back then. So my question is, what is the issue at the southern border? What is the problem that is being created at the southern border?
Well, we're letting in so far this year, I think that we're at 2,069,000, no, 2,000,000 no,
But
2,069,000 and change.
but why is
And
that a
those,
problem?
They're undocumented.
Why
These
is
are
no? Why is
why
no?
is that a
Why?
problem?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we can statistically look at numbers, right? And even if you don't want to
Wait.
acknowledge the
Real quick,
numbers,
can I go backwards? You pulled that number from
sure.
what? Where was that number from?
Customs and Border Patrol website,
And what
.gov,
was
Custom and
the
Border
number was
Patrol,
what? Border
.gov.
crossings or people that they encountered?
Let me pull it back up again, just a moment.
That's interesting. I'm looking at a surge graph, pre and post COVID. Very
Well,
similar.
I'm looking
There
at
was a border surge under Trump in March
U.S.
of.
Customs and Border Patrol Protection, U.S. Customs and Border Protection website. That's going to be again
Yeah, but
cbp.gov.
what is the number though? It's
And total so
measuring
far,
what?
we've had 206,039 Southwest border encounters by month since October of 2022
Okay, so
to
these are border encounters. These aren't people that are crossing the border, seeking asylum necessarily, right? This is just encounters with border patrol, correct?
sure,
So,
we can
and I
go with
don't
that.
think
Now,
and
if
I
we
don't think that
scroll,
I don't think that includes point of entries generally. So, so what do we do about that? It sounds like border patrol is doing a really good job.
okay, I think you're being a little I think you're being a little disingenuous. You
Why?
know, well, because whenever we go back down to 2020 under Trump's administration, again, let me just read the number for you. We're at 2,206,039 encounters at the border. And that is just from October of 2022 to August of 2023. So that's not even a full year. Okay. Now, I'll say that the total from October of 2021 to September of 2022 was 2,378,944 encounters. Okay. And
Okay,
that's a fair
but what's the problem?
in 2020. So from October of 2019 to September of 2020, we had 458,088 encounters.
Okay, but what's the problem?
The problem is that has quadrupled. That was
Okay,
a
but
fraction of
why
the
is that
total
a
encounters that
problem?
we have
But why
because
is that a problem?
we don't have the labor, we don't have the infrastructure, we
We have
don't have the
9 million
funds
jobs.
to support it.
We have 9 million jobs sitting unfilled right now.
And you have the governors of New York City and Chicago
Wait,
like
hold on.
listing states of emergency
Hold on.
saying that they can't do anything.
Willa May, respond to what I said. We have 9 million jobs sitting unfilled right now. So
What
again,
can you
you've got
elaborate?
to
What is
tell.
that supposed to mean? 9 million jobs on field. Are you saying that we have 9 million jobs in the job sector that aren't being filled?
Correct.
Okay, where's your reference on it? Because we
Um,
just like, can you bring it up to me? Because that
sure.
just sounds a little bit unfathomable to me.
Well, I'm sure it does
Nine
because
million.
I
Because
don't think.
I actually just got laid off 3 Fridays ago due to a lack of work because of the economy that we have right now.
What? Where do you work? I'm sorry to hear that. What industry do you work in?
Construction,
Okay.
general contracting,
Well,
commercial building.
that would make sense.
Mm.
Um, as we're seeing a drop there. The number of job openings. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov. The number of job openings increased to 9.6 million. The last we had was August. 9.6 million
9.6 million job
job openings.
openings.
Yeah.
And what's the unemployment rate right now?
The last I saw was 3.8. I saw that this morning. I think that's the most recent number we have. 3.8.
Okay, so you're saying that the number of immigrants that we have coming in, we should be grateful for that because we have 9 million jobs
Mm-hmm.
that are
I
not
like the
being taken
clapping.
up.
I like the clapping with that.
Sorry, I'm a theatrical speaker.
Nine.
Actually, whenever I took
like that.
public speaking, I always had like points deducted because I got to talk with my hands. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's all right. I
but
liked it.
yeah, yeah. So we have 9 million jobs that are on the table, and
Hmm.
your statement is that really, we should be grateful for the 2.2 million influx that we have of immigrants right now, so that we can fill
I'm
those
not
positions.
necessarily saying we should be ungrateful. I'm asking you like what the problem is.
Well, I think I was headed that way whenever I had, brought up Kathy Hochul, as well as the mayor of New York, the mayor of Chicago, these governors, that are having a hard time and putting their communities under a a state of emergency, saying that they don't have the funds, the infrastructure, they're running out of places to house people. It's
Well,
becoming
of course, right? But the reason that's happening is because a bunch of red states keep sending people, and blue states are like, you know what? We're gonna have a heart. Like we're gonna have a heart, and it's crazy to me because blue states already like foot the bill for most of what we do in this country. They're already paying an overwhelming amount of taxes. Like they fund red states all over the place, and red states, as soon as they get like some people down there from the southern border that they don't want in their state, they send them to these sanctuary cities. So yeah, like that part's a problem, but I don't think that you can really put that on these big cities. These aren't border cities that you're talking about. These people got to those cities because this is the only place where they can receive help. Remember, they're seeking asylum.
right. So now what I found it interesting that you said that it's the red state's fault that the migrants are being pushed up north, right? We're putting that
Well,
blame
I
on
mean,
the
a
red
lot.
states.
In many instances, they're literally
Okay, but
putting these people on buses and
right,
sending them north.
absolutely. For
Yeah.
sure, we are definitely. But let me ask you, is that an effect of a cause?
Well, what's the cause?
The cause is the lax border policies. The
Well,
cause,
what's the
the,
lax
the, the
border policy? What is the border policy that's more lax?
I listed three earlier. Remember, we got in depth about asylum seeking whenever they come in, unless they are found to be a felony person or somebody that's tied to sex trafficking or whatever, they're deported. That's the only conditions under which they're deported.
Okay.
There are no other conditions. So all of these people that come in that are undocumented, unless they've committed a felony, there's no reason for them to go back to their country. There's no reason for that. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they come here. Let me make that clear. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they come here. I'm saying that it's a bad thing that we are letting so many through with such little information and we have no idea where they're being taken. We have no idea who they really are. We have no idea what they're bringing with them. And we have
How?
no
Yeah,
idea
we
what their
don't
intentions
listen.
are.
We don't really know who anybody is, right?
Well, no, I mean, I know who
Honestly, like
I mean,
you
the
don't
government
know who
knows who
people.
I am.
You
I
don't
mean, the
know.
government knows who you are. The government knows
Sort
who
of.
everybody
Wait,
that's
but
a citizen
hold on.
is.
Sort of though, right? Like
No,
sort
no,
of.
the government
No,
knows who
hold
the
on.
hell
Let
I
me
am, and I
finish.
can
Let me finish.
guarantee
Let
they
me
know who you
finish.
are.
Let me
Sure.
finish, and you'll understand what I'm saying. The
Okay.
government can tell you like where, like, have I paid my taxes? They can tell you if I have a criminal history. Still can't
Mm-hmm.
really necessarily tell you who you are. This
Mm-hmm.
idea that we're going to vet people from countries that already have systems that are poor, right? Like we're going to have a hard time vetting anybody. These countries, some of the countries that these people come from, like there is no documentation, there is no history. The way that they keep their records in the countries that they come from, it's very difficult, and we don't necessarily have a right to get access to those records. Or if they're seeking asylum and we go to those countries and say, hey, we have this person at our border, doesn't that put a target on their back if they're an asylum seeker?
So let's make this a little more personal,
Wait,
right? Let's say that
can
it's
you
your
answer
home.
that
Yeah, well,
question?
we are. We're getting there, and I'm
We
getting
are.
there by
Wait, but are
example.
we putting a
Um,
target on their back?
no, we're not, and we're going to
No,
get there
wait,
by example.
hold on, real quick.
Sure.
If these people are truthfully seeking asylum, which when you're seeking asylum, you're escaping persecution.
Right.
If
Mm-hmm.
we
Yep.
if we say you've got to stay there until we agree, then they're going to give us their name. They're going to say we want asylum.
Okay.
We're going to go to their government
Uh
and
huh.
say this person is seeking asylum. Can we get
Mm-hmm.
their records? You don't think that's going to put a target on their back?
That's not how it works. Actually,
How
whenever
would
you
we
seek
get their records
asylum,
then?
I don't know. I'm not just like you weren't very familiar with the asylum seeking process. I'm not familiar with how we get documents from countries abroad.
No, but
But
wait,
again,
no. But if we
we're
were
going.
going to wait, hold on. If we were going to get documents, where would we get those documents from? It would be government records, right?
Okay, so you're saying that all this time we've had trouble getting documents, and
No, no,
I
no,
mean, what did
no.
we do in the past? Like, what are you saying that
No,
we did
no,
this
no, no,
we
no, no,
couldn't
no,
do it
no,
in the
no, no.
past?
No, what I'm saying is, yes, it is tricky to get documentation
No, it's
always.
not. We've done it for
No,
years.
no, I
All
know.
throughout history, that's
Wait,
how people have come to the United
it's
States. How
actually
are you going to
always
say it's tricky?
it's
It's
actually
not tricky.
I don't know if you
That's like
know
saying
this.
that black people
Yeah.
don't have driver's licenses because they're black or they
That's
don't
not
have
even close
internet
to the
because
same
they're
thing, but I
black.
don't know if you know this, but there's historically been lots of problems with people coming here without papers. In fact, there's a lot of racial slurs that were like acronyms for people in Europe that had to do with like without papers. Like if you take the acronym without papers,
I think we're
those
getting a
three
little
words,
off topic here.
WAP, which is a racial slur, that meant without papers. What I'm saying is the
No,
question is,
WAP cannot be a racial slur. A racial slur.
it was,
WAP cannot
it
be a racial
was,
slur. It has
it.
nothing to do with race. If you are without
Wait,
papers,
hold
baby,
on.
you are without papers. It doesn't matter
Hey,
if you're black, white, brown, or
Calm down,
Asian.
calm down. So this is where I think that maybe you have a disconnect with some Democrats. What I'm telling
Probably.
you is that acronym was historically used as a racial slur. It had nothing to do with people coming from the
I've
southern
never
border.
heard of it until this conversation.
You probably have, and you didn't realize that you heard it,
No,
but you
I've
definitely.
heard wet ass pussy for WAP, but never without
No,
papers. And
so
again,
I
even
keep
if
saying
you
WAP.
are
I meant WOP, not WAP. I might have said it wrong. WOP.
still WOP
Okay,
without
well look
papers,
that up. Look at listen,
how is that ugly?
listen, look that.
Alexa, is WOP a racial slur? This bitch. Alexa, is WOP a racial slur? No, she ain't fucking with that. She said, I ain't never heard of that.
Listen, I
She
can
said,
tell you,
I ain't never
I
heard
can
of
tell
that.
you that it is, and it was, and it's not used that often anymore, but it definitely was. It was about Italians, just so you know. You can look that up after.
Used
What I'm
when?
saying,
Give
what
me
I'm,
an era.
what
Give
I'm,
me some type of era, because I have
well,
watched
I mean, if you said
numerous
it,
World War II, World
if
War
you
One documentaries, and never once have I
it
ever
doesn't
heard of
matter. I was
this.
just saying that, like historically, we've had
Okay, but
people
historically when? What
Hey,
era?
Willa
I've
May,
never heard
listen.
of it.
Willa May,
You made the statement. I'm just asking.
Willa May, you have a real problem with letting other people finish sentences.
No,
Like
we've
a
done
real,
this back and forth.
you do. You have a real problem with letting other
You
people finish
just cut
sentences.
me off 3
So
times.
I
I'm
know
still
because
trying to make it
I was
personal.
speaking,
I know,
Willa
but
May,
hold on.
please stop,
No, I'm going to ask you
Listen
to
with
stop
your,
as
no,
well.
okay, I was
We're
talking and
asking
you
you.
shush, please. Okay? All I'm saying, and let me get this fucking point out. All I'm
Sure.
saying is it is not new to this country that there are people that come here that don't have access to papers. But the point that I was making is that if you tell people who are facing persecution that they must stay where they're at until we can vet them, our only way to vet them will be to contact their government to get their papers. And if they're actually persecuted, you are putting a target on their back while they are under the control of their government. Most people escaping persecution do so in the dead of night, or they do so in a sneaky way. They're running because they're persecuted. They don't ask for permission from their government to leave. They run, and they run until they find the first place they can go where they are safe. That's how this works. That's why it's important that we allow people who are seeking asylum to get to our country, because they are hiding. They're running. So if we say stay there, and we're going to ask your government if it's cool, if you're really actually persecuting them, and two, if they come here, that's absolutely, without a doubt, going to put a target on their back. I'm grabbing something out of the fridge, but I can still hear you. Are you there?
I am. So we're going to go back to where I said, let's make this a little more personal whenever you were kind of talking about, things
We're
coming
not.
in.
No, I need you to.
Well, no. You had said that it's not very fair to sit here and ask for, background
Sorry. Wait, hold
information or
on.
who
Wait,
people
hold on.
are
I
whenever
need
they
you.
come into the country.
Hold
You
on.
literally just got on to me about
I know,
interrupting you. And
because.
I have been trying to make this
Okay,
point now for the past 5 minutes.
Willa May.
That's
So
very
here's
disingenuous.
It's not disingenuous.
Very disingenuous. It is.
Willa
It
May,
is.
hold
I've
on.
been trying to make a
Hold
point,
the
and you will
fuck
not
on.
allow me to.
Shush.
Again, here you go. You're not allowing to make a point.
Oh my God, Willa May, you are welcome to make your point after you respond to what I said. What you just did is completely ignore what I said and said, "Let me go back to this point." I need us to be able to have a discussion where we're on the same topic.
In the point. You're
I
not
just want
allowing me to get there. We are getting to the
I
point
will
if you
let
allow
you
me
get
to
there.
speak.
Let me ask the question again, and let's just make sure we're on the same page.
Go
I just
right
want
ahead.
you to I just want you to respond to the idea that if we make somebody stay in their country, wouldn't that put a target on their back?
Absolutely not. Now,
Why
would
not?
you allow me to get there? I'm trying to get
Go
there,
ahead.
dear, but you keep interrupting me.
Go ahead.
So now let's make this personal, okay?
Oh, here.
We tell people,
Right.
no, look, anecdotal is the best. I know that a lot of people have gotten on the string of you making anecdotes, but aren't anecdotes how we identify with each other? Are
No.
anecdotes not a great way to sit here and communicate? How would you say that it's not? Anecdotal has been in literature for years.
Willa May, I'll explain it.
You are just interrupting me over and over
You
again.
asked me a question.
It was a rhetorical question. was
Well,
a
we don't do
rhetorical
rhetorical.
question.
We don't do rhetorical questions
Okay,
here.
let's just move on back to this point
May,
that I'm
hold on,
making.
hold
Okay,
on,
let's
hold
please
on.
just move back and stay on topic. I've
No,
really
hold
tried to
on,
make this point now
hold
for
on.
5 minutes.
I
I would
understand that.
greatly appreciate you allowing me to make the point that I've attempted to make for
Go
five
ahead and make your
minutes during
point.
this
Go ahead and make
discussion.
your point, Willa May.
It is important that we vet those who are attempting to come into our country. Okay. Similarly, if somebody was to come to your home and ask to come in, it could be, let's just say it's a man, because men seek asylum too, right? It's not,
Mm-hmm.
men seek asylum just as well. All right. But this gentleman is seeking asylum in your home, but it's just him. He doesn't have a family or anything. Are you not going to wonder who he is, what his name is, if he can prove to you who he is, who he's been attached to, where he came from?
We already
Are you
do
not
that.
going to be worried about any of that?
We
Well,
do
right.
that.
We do all of that through a
Okay.
process of screening and vetting people as they come into
Correct.
the
So I'm
country.
not arguing against screening and vetting. What I'm saying, and this is where you missed the point. Now, if
It's
that meant,
asylum
hold
staying
on,
there or doing it
wait.
here.
Now
And
it's
if
my
it's a
turn,
target
Willa
on their
May.
back,
Now it's Willa May.
I'm getting
Now
there,
it's my
babes.
turn. Now it's
No,
my
it's
turn.
not. It's
I'm
still
going to
mine.
use
The
your same
asylum
fucking
is going
example.
to look.
Shush.
There's no reason to
Shush.
raise
I'm
your
using your
voice.
same
Okay,
example.
listen. There's no
Okay.
reason for you to raise your voice. We're
I'll
staying
raise my
calm.
voice.
Stay
Willa
calm
May.
and just take a breath.
Shush.
No, just
Jesus
take a
Christ.
breath.
Let me
Look, your
respond to
question was
your
asylum
example.
there or
Oh
asylum
my
here,
God.
right?
Jesus Christ, Willa May. You are. Let me respond to your example. This same man comes to my door and he says, hey, I'm looking for safe harbor. And I say, I'm not sure who you are. I'd like to figure out who you are first before I let you into my house. He says, okay. I said, sit out here. I have this patio furniture. You wait here. And I said, what's going on? What are you trying to escape? And he says, at my house, they're beating on me. They're hitting me with sticks at my house. What I wouldn't do to that person is say, sorry, go back and wait in your house until I figure out if you are safe for me. I would say stay outside of my house while I vet you. What you're advocating for by saying you must stay in place is that they stay in the place where they're abused. We already have a system, Willa May, where when they get here, they have a court date, and it's a shitty system. We're really bad at it. We really need to fix it so we can move this quickly. But again, there's a lot of people coming. Nobody wants to invest in it. It's a bad system. And I don't think Joe Biden's doing a very good job, if we're being honest. But what I'm not going to do is send the person who's abused back to the place where they're being abused. I'm going to create a place for them to stay while we vet their story. You are muted, so you're going to have to unmute. Willa May.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure how that happened. But
Oh, I muted you. That's
oh,
how it
okay.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. But so essentially, um, oh yeah, that is what we do. We're not saying that you have to stay in the country where you're being, persecuted. We're saying you can't come here yet. If you want to move from, Ukraine to Poland, that's fine. If you want to file asylum here in the States from Ukraine, you don't have to stay in Ukraine. You can go to Poland. You can go where any of the surrounding countries that are there. Okay, we're not saying that you have to stay exactly where you are. You can visit any embassy and stay at the embassies. We offer housing in multiple countries. Basically, anywhere we have an embassy, we take these people in there. But we don't just bring them into the U.S.
Wait, but why not? If this is where they're seeking asylum, what if this is the
because
first?
we don't know who they
What
are.
if? Well, of
It
course,
doesn't
that's why.
matter. I don't know who you are. Stay there until I can confirm who you are and that you're
Wait,
not
so
tied with
wait,
people.
stay where?
Wherever it is that you feel safest,
But
away from
what if the
whatever
only place?
persecution you're fleeing.
What if the only place they feel safe is on American soil?
Then go to an embassy, an
How are they?
American embassy.
How are they going to get to an American embassy?
There are ways. If we can, there are ways. And
You,
there are
you
ways.
think we're going to get? You think that an American embassy can take this amount of people?
So if this amount of people would go through the proper channels, they're not seeking asylum. All of these people that are coming here are not seeking asylum.
No,
We
all
have
of them.
how
No,
many?
not all of them are.
Alexa,
Some of
on
them.
average,
Some of
how
them
many
are
people
seeking jobs.
apply for asylum in the United States every year?
I disagreed with you. Not all of them are seeking asylum. We don't even need to get into the numbers. I'm talking, but we are talking about asylum seekers.
The United States has processed an average of 46,000 asylum applications each year. 46,000.
Yeah. So yeah, I already agree.
Alexa,
Wait,
what
wait.
of two million two hundred and
Jesus Christ.
sixty nine
Willa May!
thousand? What is
Willa
45%?
May! This is not a conversation between me, you, and fucking Alexa. This isn't a conversation at all. Just listen to what I'm saying and respond. Stop just trying to like pull out stats. I'm agreeing with you, and you're pulling stats like I'm disagreeing with you.
Well, I think you're
Okay,
agreeing with me to a different level than I'd
Willa
like you to
May,
be aware
Willa
of.
May, I
Sure.
agree with you that not all of these people are asylum seekers, but currently all we're talking about is asylum seekers. So can we just
No,
talk about asylum seekers right now?
all you're talking about is asylum
Oh my
seekers. I
God.
couldn't give a shit about asylum seekers. I would care more
You don't
about,
care about asylum seekers?
no, as far as
Then
those
why
that are
did we
coming
just
here,
have
I
this
don't care about
conversation
them
about asylum
because
seekers?
because we changed. You asked me to list the laws that were changed in immigration, and asylum and how you go about seeking asylum within the United States is something that changed under Joe Biden's presidency, and you chose to focus on that point and disregard any
Yeah,
others that I made.
so Willa May, when you have a discussion with somebody and you make a bunch of points, the only way for the discussion to be fruitful at all is to go point by point. So I
That's
took
fine, but you asked why we were
so
on asylum, and I told you why. It's because you picked the
no,
topic.
well, no,
If you want
I
to move
didn't.
to another topic, we can.
Willa May, I didn't ask why we were on asylum. I said, why are we talking about it if you don't give a shit about it? Because you brought it up. So I was
No,
just like, well, if you don't
you
give a shit
brought
about
it
it, why are
up
we talking about it? But anyways,
because that's
so
the
do you
topic
want?
you chose to
So
discuss.
so wait, so
Among the list of
can we
laws.
let's see if we can find some common ground here. You agree that telling somebody to stay put in the country where they're at if they are being persecuted is not the right move, right?
We don't tell people that, so no, that wouldn't
No,
be the
no,
right move.
Jesus, this is
Nobody
so
tells
hard.
anybody that.
Okay, well, that's
I just said that's not the right
Willa
move,
May.
and that's why we don't do that.
Willa May, these answers don't need to take so long. Okay, I guess the disconnect we have is that what you said originally is that Trump's policy was that people needed to stay in place while we vet them before they can come here. So
I did not say stay in place.
maybe
Yes.
you miss. Well, you did. You said they need to stay
stay
where
in
they're
place
at.
is not anything that I would
Okay,
ever
so
say.
you
It's
weren't
not
saying
a
stay in the
context
country.
that I use.
So let me make sure we're clear then. You weren't saying they need to stay in the country where they're being persecuted. They just need to be somewhere besides our soil. Is that what you were saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. All right. I would disagree with that, but on to the next point.
Sure.
The
Is that
next
something
point was-
you'd like to make, or are you, waiting on me to make a
Well,
point?
no,
You're
I don't
asking
know.
about
No,
common ground.
I guess if we're going backwards, I was just asking like, what's the big issues you see with the border? We decided. You said there was a lot of people. I said, well, we have a lot of open jobs, and then you went to people seeking asylum. We've covered that now. I think that it's perfectly fine and reasonable for asylum seekers to come to United States soil, go through the proper channels of asylum seeking, and I think we need to do a better job in our courts getting these done quickly.
Okay.
That's my opinion. And I don't
Sure.
think
And I
Trump
respect
did
that.
that well. I don't think Biden did that well. I think they're both failing miserably on that.
Sure, and I respect that. But I think that it's disingenuous to say that what's going on at the border isn't a problem. It's clearly a problem. That's why Biden has said, okay, yeah, let's finish the damn wall.
I didn't say it's
mean,
not. So I didn't say it's not a problem. I asked you what your problem with it. Clearly, it's a problem, right?
yeah,
But
the
think a
influx,
lot of, I
the
think a
amount of
lot
the
of
lack of
times.
documentation that we have.
Jesus, Willa May, you got to let me finish sentences, please.
I'm sorry you asked. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You asked a
Yeah.
question I was answering, kind of like
Yeah.
a rhetorical thing.
So, fair enough. Fair enough. The question with the border between the two parties generally is like, what is if we can boil it down to what is the real problem? Because most of the time what happens when I'm on this live is somebody comes, they say, the southern border is open, it's wide open, and criminals are pouring through. It's like, okay, well, how do you even engage with that? But if we can get down to like the nitty gritty, I think both of us agree that what we're doing at the border isn't working that well. It's not efficient. It doesn't get the job done. And historically, like we've seen dips that come with labor. We often will see in times like now where because people aren't making a ton of money. In a lot of jobs, because a lot of jobs don't provide a living wage, a lot of times those jobs will go unfilled. And the only way for those jobs to be filled, unfortunately, because of the way our economy works and our economic structure, is sometimes the only people willing to work in these jobs are people who are willing to work for less money, like a lot less money. And so that's why we rely heavily on migrant labor, especially in Arizona. I'm in a border state. It almost when Title 42 happened, it almost bankrupted like the southern part of our state because they could not pick their crops.
Okay, so I live in Alabama, and I can literally tell
Roll
you,
Tide.
roll tide, every way around the house, we have nurseries that are literally managed and labored by immigrant workers, migrant workers. We house them, or they, I should say, the nursery owners house them on the property. They provide them housing. They provide them with vehicles. We have a church where my daughter went to daycare that I brought a huge amount of things that I was getting rid of out of the house for families that migrate here, okay,
Okay.
that start here, that don't have anything. So I can tell you, the area that of Alabama that I live in, we are very heavily reliant upon migrant workers,
Okay.
okay, very heavily. But those migrant workers came here legally. We know who they are, okay? They're listed with the state, they're listed with the federal. They pay taxes on their things. The problem are the ones that are coming through that are illegal, that don't pay taxes, that disappear in a system, and we don't know who they are.
How do
The
they?
problem is the influx of
Okay.
200,000,
So if
2
that's the
million. Wait,
problem,
I'm still talking. I'm still making a point,
well, this is
please.
a long.
It's
You got to make one
500,000
point at a time.
people
Willamette,
to 2 million.
if you could make try and make like one point at a time, because that's where it gets tricky. You said like a million things, and if we could keep it to one at a time, I would just say this: like, if the problem is that people are coming here and they're working, but they're not paying taxes, wouldn't the most simple solution be to make it possible for these people who are working to pay taxes?
It's not that that's the simple solution or that's the simple problem. There's multiple problems. I listed that we don't know who you are. You not paying taxes was just one of those, things that are listed.
Well,
How are you going to say that
that's
we?
Willamette. That's why I'm asking you to go point by point. Because if we can go point by point, we can get to the point. But when I just addressed one of your points, you're like, well, there's a million other things too.
Well,
Okay,
yeah, I listed them, and you
I know,
chose that one to focus in on, just like you did asylum.
Willamette, I have to go point by point. I can't talk
So
about
you're a 1 point person at a
all.
time. You can't handle more than one at a time.
Willamette, this is how discussions with humans work. You don't
No,
talk about
humans
20.
can.
Oh
No,
my God.
humans can go
Willamette,
1,000 times. You
Willamette,
are
Willamette.
such a
This is
disingenuous
no,
person.
no, Willamette. This is what's called gish galloping. Are you familiar with that term?
No, because we just have conversations here in Alabama. It's
Okay,
pretty simple. We just go back and forth.
so
We
what
keep up
gish
with each other too.
Okay, so you could have just said no. You didn't need to tell me that uh, anything else. A gish gallop is when you just like
Alexa, what is gish galloping?
I can just read it to you. Alexa's not involved in this. It's a can you turn
The
off Alexa,
Gallatin
please?
gourmet
This is
method
so
simply
fucking
means
annoying.
pounding
Can
salted
you
to
stop
lean cuts
this?
like venison and frying in clarified butter over medium heat.
That was not gish
Answering your
gallop. I don't know
question.
what she pulled up. Can you just turn off Alexa, please? A gish gallop is a rhetorical technique where a person in a debate tries to overwhelm their opponent with like an excessive number of arguments with no regard to like the accuracy or the strength of those arguments. You just overwhelm them with a bunch of different arguments at once. It's a good debate strategy, but it's not a good way to have a conversation. So all I'm asking, Willamette, this isn't like a gotcha question. I'm actually trying to find common ground with you right now,
Right.
over and over. So wouldn't it be so for the first one when we're
Hey,
talking
can
about
we take
paying
a break for just a moment? Give
no.
me just a moment to reset so that I can get on that level. I know I'm
Okay.
serious. I got a little
Goose
bit
Brava.
adrenaline rushing,
Goose
and so
Brava.
I got a little bit
Okay.
frustrated. So let me take a breath and let me try and do this 1 point at a time thing, because genuinely that was not my attempt with you, and it is going to take me a minute to adjust. So let me take a break and take a breather.
Okay. No worries.
All right, go
Okay.
for it.
So if we're gonna start with taxes, like if we start with that, if we want people who are working to pay taxes, we have to do two things. Number one, we have to provide them with the ability to pay taxes, and number two, we have to stop people from hiring people under the table. Those are the two main things we would have to do, right? Did we lose? Did we lose Willamette?
Sorry.
You're good. Wouldn't you agree those are probably the two things that we would have to, if just on the tax part? If we
Well,
want people,
absolutely.
okay. So one of the issues I've always seen, even when I was a Republican, so I was a Republican before Trump, like 2015 is kind of when I left the party. But when I was in school, I was a Republican, and one of the things that we looked at when we looked at immigration policy, and when I was working for Republicans and as part of the Republican policy, one of the things I had a hard time getting across to people is that, like, hey, if people don't have a job to come work for, then they're not going to come, right? So if we eliminate the carrot of somebody who's going to pay under the table and pay cheaper wages, if we remove that, if we go after the companies who are doing this, then it removes the incentive for people to come here and work for cheaper labor and it allows us to get people to come here that work. They pay taxes. We give them what an ITIN number, and their taxes go in. Everybody that's working here is paying taxes. They use the roads, they use the infrastructure. They can help pay for that. I think that's a sensible solution.
I think that there's a thing in place for that already, and I think it's pretty sure it's called a work visa.
It is called a work visa, and they're difficult to get, but we don't do anything to crack down on on immigration, like on illegal labor, right? So, for
No,
example,
what we have.
the former president hired a lot of undocumented people to work at his properties.
No, I'm not quite sure the validity of that.
What do you mean you're not sure? Have you checked it?
I haven't. That's why I said I'm not sure the validity of that.
So
This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
Well, that's kind of crazy. But at Mar-a-Lago, they did have undocumented labor there. It was known. And basically his defense was, well, I don't do all the hiring. That was his defense. He didn't even say that it didn't happen. You there?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just pulling it up.
Oh, okay.
Not, I mean, it's just that's the first time I'm hearing of it, so it's just like it kind of took me, aback a little bit.
Even Eric Trump said the Trump organization is making a broad effort to identify any employee who has given false and fraudulent documents to unlawfully gain employment. This was after you had multiple people who had worked there said that they were not documented workers.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It says that they perform maintenance and masonry work.
Yeah. So I would say if we want to crack down, on undocumented labor, then what we first ought to do is crack down on the companies who hire people with undocumented labor. By the way, it is remarkably easy to spot papers that are fake or papers that don't match the person that's coming in. It's remarkably easy. I live in Arizona. I hired thousands of people, and it was not for like a super high wage, right? So we regularly had people coming in with faulty documentation. Happened all the time. It's remarkably easy to catch that. You literally have to look the other way if you want to hire somebody. It's remarkably easy.
So I'd like to point out that the undocumented workers that were on Trump's property were subcontracted through another company, and it's that company's job to verify worker and employment verification status. And I will say that as a GC, I have had to confirm things like that through other subcontractors, but they were not directly employed by Mar-a-Lago. They were employed by subcontract.
Yeah, I've heard that argument. There's two things I'd say to that. Number one, it's still your job to check that.
But it's not. As the GC or as the owner, whenever you use a subcontract, it's not.
The reason it's still your job to do it is because you should. And it rarely happens,
but it's not the job. What I'm saying is there is a form that's submitted. I know, but you don't know what goes on here. I'm trying to explain it to you, and you have no idea what you're talking about. I literally just said I had to do this for other companies. They submitted an affidavit that said they have confirmed that all of their employees pass a work verification status for the United States.
Jesus Christ, nobody can hear you because I'm still talking. I'm going to continue to talk over you. Willa fucking
So you're not going to allow people to know what really happened.
I was in the middle of a goddamn sentence. Just wait for like 30 seconds to get your point out.
But you're lying. You are lying. You are being disingenuous, and you don't know what the process is.
Do you need to take another breather?
No, I'm trying to tell you what the process is.
Shush.
You're being disingenuous, and it's lying.
You can correct me when I'm done talking.
So you want me to allow you to continue to be incorrect?
Willa May.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's fine.
So if you are working with a subcontractor, legally, you can still be held accountable if that subcontractor is using undocumented workers. Now, is it harder if you're using a subcontractor? Yes. Is it the subcontractor's job to make sure that their labor is documented? Yes. But it is still incumbent on you, and it should be, to check that. Now, that's a fair reason for Donald Trump to say I didn't know. But he also was doing it for 40 years. The same stories came out about Trump Tower. So in all that time, he never did anything to fix the problem. So at the very least, we could agree that after all that time, he didn't really care that much. He didn't do anything to fix it.
Okay, so we're going to go back and we're going to explain what takes place so that you know whenever that comes out. whenever a person hires a subcontractor, an affidavit is given to them by the subcontractors, the officer of the company, the president, the VP, whatever the subcontractor is. And it's an affidavit saying that they have verified the employment of all of their people and their immigration status and all that bunch of good stuff. And then the other legal team on the other side signs it. And everybody is in an understanding, okay, that this has been done, and you're being honest about what records you have because you went through the proper steps to make sure of who you're hiring. Okay. So if that's what's taking place, and if Trump's enterprise is as big as it is, and if it just came out just right now, okay, but if it just came out just right now that this is what took place in 2019, because that's the date of the article that I have was like September of 2019.
This isn't new. This has been reported about on Donald Trump since 1980. There, you can go back, you can find news articles from as far back as 1980 talking about this.
Okay, so do you think still that it is going to be on the subcontractors, or do you think it's on the people, the owners who are hiring these individuals?
Well,
do you think that it goes around and around and around like that, or do you feel like there has to be more put on the other companies? I'm looking at it, I guess, from a GC's point of view, where if we had somebody come on the site,
could I answer them?
No, not until I'm done. Not until I'm done. No, because you do it every time. I'm not done speaking. You are such a rude person.
I'm going to mute you now. You don't get to ask 5 questions. One at a time. We just agreed on this, Willa Mae. We just agreed we're going to ask a question and let the other person respond. You're muted right now, by the way, so nobody can hear you. But if you ask a question, stop talking after you ask the question, okay? Go ahead. You can unmute now. But if we're gonna do this and have a conversation, you have to stop talking after you ask a question.
The question wasn't for you to answer. The question was for.
Well, then I'm not going to listen. You don't get to monologue. That's not how this works.
Listen,
you're not going to come on and ask a bunch of rhetorical questions and monologue for 30 minutes. These are debates.
Whenever you made the point about Trump hiring illegal undocumented workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you disclose up front that it wasn't him that hired them? It was the subcontractors that worked.
Well,
that he hired a contract with.
Because that's this claim that he made, right?
But that's the true claim.
Well, there's people that were undocumented workers that claim they worked directly for the Trump organization.
You know, I think that you and I are going to disagree on all points about that one. I feel like it's probably best. Yeah, I'm just being honest.
I
feel like we probably
disagree on what? Hold on. All I'm saying is like we don't really know because both sides are saying different things. I'm actually not even making a claim.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly like we're not.
So so you and I don't disagree.
That's what I'm getting at.
Agree. We actually agree.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next one, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the next is.
Well, so the point was you should make it possible for people who come here and work to pay taxes, and 2, you should go after companies who hire undocumented workers. Now, these subcontractors, you and I both know then, because I've worked with thousands of subcontractors. We both know that there are subcontractors that usually the cheapest ones. Usually why that
usually masonry.
and you get to say you get to be like, well, I don't know, hands off because I don't know. That's why that subcontractor exists, and that's why that subcontractor can charge less money, and everybody knows it. It's very rare that everybody's not like, yeah, we know what's going on, especially in a border state where I'm at. You know immediately. Right, when the bid comes in way cheaper than everybody else, you're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, but we don't go with them. We don't go with them, though.
And that's great. But I'm just saying those are the people we should go after as well. Remove the carrot, right? Remove the carrot for people to work illegally,
right? But that's never been the debate, though.
And then make it possible for people to work legally.
Right, but we have that already. The work visa.
Well, yeah, but it's different. That's what I'm saying. We need to make it easier. But the main issue here that I see, the main disconnect between Republicans and Democrats on this issue is messaging. And if we look at the actual problem, when we break down the actual numbers, just like we did here, we're mostly going to agree. But for whatever reason, once it's in the media, it's criminals, right? It's always criminals. It's always criminals. It's always people coming over to take our jobs. It's always people bringing drugs. It's always that. But then when you look statistically, like most of the people that are here illegally came here legally and overstayed their visas. Most of the drugs come through ports of entries or airports. Like it's almost the problem of people actually coming across the border illegally. They actually aren't really the ones that are causing most of our problems. Most of our problems come through legal means, through ports of entries and people overstaying their visas. But that's why, to me, as like coming from the right, when I used to make these same arguments, when I look at it statistically, it feels a lot like fear mongering because we're not addressing the real problems. We're not addressing the lion's share of the problem. Instead, we focus on the small minority of people that try and sneak over the border and the small minority of drugs that we catch when people try and sneak over the border. When the
What is the
reality
lion's
is, like,
share?
most of the drugs are coming in through ports of entry and
What's the
airports.
lion's share?
Well, if you look, yeah, so if you look at the amount of, I think it was like 75% of, last I looked, 75% of people here illegally. It's our best guess, right? Because we don't always know who came illegally. But 75% are on overstayed visas. That number's been as high as 90% when I've seen it. I've seen it as low as 75%. So I'm going with the lowest number I've seen.
Where's that come from, if you can?
Let's see. Let me pull it up.
Or what was your search term? How about that?
Uh,
What were your
I
search
I
terms?
didn't pull it up today, so I'd have to look. What percent of
Well, just now, whenever you typed in your search, what'd you type in?
Well, I have ADHD, so I can't type and hear you talk at the same time. Let me write it out and then I'll tell you. Does that work? This is my bad.
Sure, I'm an ADHDer too, if that helps. That's probably why I'm bouncing around a lot and I'm just kind of like trying to keep, bing, 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 bing on all the different topics. I'm surprised being ADHD yourself, you're not.
Well, that's why I force myself to go one by one. So this is from Pew Research.
Hmm.
I can. It says
Well, again,
what's
what was the
going on
search
here?
term that you typed
What
in? I just wanted to
percentage
start.
of undocumented immigrants are here on overstayed visas? Yeah, this isn't going to give me though. This isn't the number I wanted. This is a totally different thing. Okay, for seventh consecutive visa overstays exceed illegal. Okay, so this is from NPR.org. For the seventh consecutive year, visa overstays exceeded illegal border crossings. The
That article
report,
was written in 2019, though. We're going
correct.
for something more, since the surge of the border. I mean, back then the border crossings were
Right,
a
but if you,
fraction of what they are now. I mean,
yeah,
they
but
were
even
less
it,
than
but hold on.
25%.
But Willa May, if you compared the number that you gave me earlier on CBP, like border apprehensions or border encounters, and you compared that to the amount of people who came through ports of entry, the people coming through ports of entry are going to be much higher than the contacts with Border Patrol, right?
I can assume.
Yeah.
But wouldn't
So
those
this is
correlate
saying
with the increase of the
60.
encounters as well?
What did you say?
But wouldn't that number be correlated as well with the increase of encounters?
I mean, it probably is. I don't think it has to be, but it probably is in this case.
We can't sit there and say that it would increase by, fivefold from 2019 to 2022 on the
Right, but
encounters and not assume that it
remember
would do so as well on the
right,
ports.
but remember what my claim is here is that most the majority of people who are here illegally came
Uh-huh.
through the border legally. That
Right,
was
and
my claim.
their visa has expired. Right, but that
Correct.
article that you're referencing is from 2019. I'm saying this is no longer relevant now.
Well,
We need to
and that's what
update
I'm
this
saying.
data.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So you're talking about the border. So you're talking about encounters at Border Patrol versus the amount of people who have come here through ports of entry. If you look at that number, the people coming through ports of entry is higher than the encounters with Border Patrol. So it would still ring true. That's what I was saying. It still appears to be ringing true. It's just at greater numbers.
Well, no, your statement was that the people that are here, as far as their visa being expired, exceeds the amount of illegal immigrants that are crossing. That was your statement. And I'm
Yeah, and
saying that
that's what I'm.
that's no longer applicable anymore.
No, I'm saying it would be the same thing. That
I don't
most.
believe so.
Okay. Uh, all right.
Can we maybe find an updated article that would support that?
I mean, this data is always on a lag. Let's see. Percentage. Let me check the Discord. Does anybody have that in the Discord? Let's see. I don't see it in there.
Here's an entry slash exit overstay report by the Department of Homeland Security. We can go back to fiscal year 2019. For those that are in the Discord, it's going to be Homeland Security
Hold on. Hold on.
entry/exit overstay report.
Willa May, you just got mad at me for using 2019 and now you're using 2019.
No. I'm saying it starts at 2019 and goes up. We can go all the way up to 2022.
Okay. And what does it look like? What's your source here?
So, oh gracious, the Homeland Security, U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
What did you search?
Well, don't search what I searched because it was at the very bottom. Try typing in Homeland Security entry/exit overstay report.
Okay, you want the overstay report. Okay, go ahead.
It's a 61-page report. Let me scroll through it and see if they have like a yeah, here it is, executive summary. Let's see.
So it looks like their last year was 2020, right? It was signed in 2021. So this would all be like Trump data. Their last. That's all I see. Last report was 2020.
No, this one I have from 2022 for 2021.
Okay. But this is just going to show you overstays, right? So then you're going to have to compare that to the border encounters.
Right.
So total overstay rate for 2022 was 3.64%, which is more than double the rate of so this actually is backing it up. The overstay rate was higher than it's more than double than it's been in recent years. So yeah, I think I'm right actually.
So in 2022, where was that from?
It was about 1.7% before on average, and now it's up to 3.64%. So yeah, this backs me up.
Now, wait, where'd you go find it? Let me go there as well.
This is DHS, Center for Immigration Studies.
Okay, let's see. Center for Immigration Studies. Is that going to be on that sidebar menu?
I don't know.
Let's see.
850,000 foreign visitors overstayed in 2022. And what did you say the number was for border crossings this year? Like 200,000 ish?
No, that's 200 million.
We didn't have
2,206,000 and change. But that's only from October of 2022 to August of this year. So that's not a full year yet. We still got 2 months out on that number.
Okay. Well, this is probably really boring for everybody to listen to. We may need to get our numbers and come back on this. CBP processed more than 2.8 million entry summaries. That's the entry summaries. That's not the encounters, right?
No, mine is the encounters number. If you go to the CBP website, it's going to be the encounters it's listed. It's 2.206 and change.
Okay, I don't know where they're pulling that number from.
But now, whenever you say that, though, let's take in another perspective of it. So, can we correlate the increase of overstayed visas to the increase of those that have come in, right? Because the visa only lasts for like a year, right? So if their visa expired in 2022, then they came in 2021, which they were part of the influx because in 2021 we had like 2.3 million.
Right, but the part you're leaving out is that those overstayed visas don't reset every year; they compound, right? So
but they still stayed. And they didn't get them renewed.
That's what I'm saying. So the number of people that are here on overstayed visas versus the number of people that we think are here just by coming across illegally, the overstayed visas, based on our best evidence, people here on overstayed visas is 62%. The most recent number was 62%. So the biggest problem of all of our problems we're not really addressing, right? And we could actually fix that with amnesty very quickly. You could take all of these people, give them amnesty, give them the ability to work, and immediately we would have a massive influx of tax revenue.
I don't want to give all of them amnesty yet. I want to know who they are and where they came from.
So then you probably shouldn't complain about taxes then. If you don't want to tax people, you're just like, what are you going to do? How are you possibly going to go over this many people? How are you possibly going to get the backgrounds on this many people?
How did we get the
What's your solution
backgrounds?
to that?
How did we get the backgrounds of these individuals before Biden came in office and allowed the influx in the first place? We've done it for
Wait, no,
years
no, I'm
prior to
asking, no,
this.
I'm asking you how we are going to round up
The
every single
same.
person who's
Oh, ICE.
undocumented and
ICE.
check
That's a
their.
lot of jobs right there. ICE, that is a lot of jobs right there.
So,
That is a lot of federal government jobs. That is a lot of veteran jobs right there as
so
well.
you're advocating that we create the ICE now go across the country. It's estimated that we have 11 million people here that are undocumented. So you're advocating
You're
that we.
literally making the argument for me right there. We have
No,
11 million
I'm
people that are
asking.
undocumented.
Hey, real
That is
quick,
a
Willa May. I'm
problem.
asking a question. Hold on. So you're saying that what we should do is beef up ICE so much and create squads to go around and gather up undocumented people, right?
No, I'm suggesting that we create a task bureau that is tasked with verifying the documentation of everybody that is here that is
And if
illegal that
there's
we know
and if
of.
there's no documentation, then what?
Then we find some documentation, or you go back home and you get documentation.
Okay, gotcha. So then how do we? So then do we pay for the deportation?
We have charged other countries for deportation. We made
How
Mexico pay
we
for
have
whenever
no
we do deportation.
we have no mechanism to collect on that.
We have
How would we
made
collect? How would we
Mexico in the
force Mexico
past.
to pay us? How would we do
That
that?
has been a part of a treaty between the Mexico and the United States. Anytime we sign anything that goes in type of any foreign trade, we add these things into trade deals all the time.
What trade deal says that
You're
if
asking me to be specific on a trade deal that we
that would
made
be
with
nice?
Mexico. Oh, good gosh.
And then how are we going to find everybody without paperwork?
We just ask people to be honest and say, hey,
Ask
look,
who?
it's fine. If you're undocumented,
How are we going to find people and ask them?
the same way that we told people about vaccines. My God, we threw it on the TVs. We threw it on the radios. We threw it on the news.
And if they
What
don't
do you mean,
come in,
how are we going to find them?
why would they come in if they don't have documentation?
Because we need to find you documentation. You are
But what if you know you don't have documentation? Why are you going to come in? You're muted. I didn't do that one. What if you don't have documentation? Why are you
I
going to come
got
in?
a phone call, so that's my bad.
What are you going to do if you don't have documentation? You going to go show up still?
I can't exit out of the chat.
Or you can just respond to me. Hello? Hello? Willa May?
I got a phone call.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can't hear properly.
Okay, well, I don't know what to do. You may have to drop then. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You can come back up. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I like somebody's welcome to come up and tell me how you plan on doing this. Go Red Crown. I think was waiting the longest. Hey, Red Crown. Hello? Hello? Red Crown? Can you guys hear Red Crown? I can't hear him. Can you guys hear him? All right. Sorry about that, Red Crown. I can't hear you either. Can anybody else? Oh, that got longer. Just taking opposition in the box right now, by the way. So if you're not opposition, could you drop down real quick? So I make sure. Sorry about that, Red Crown. Red Crown. Ooh, Red Crown burgers. Now you're talking my language, Rich Little. That thing kind of went everywhere. DG. Oh. I've been told Red Crown's OG. He went to AFib and did a live in the back of an ambulance. That's crazy. What's up, DG?
Hey, Jay, man, I was actually trying to back out now because you said you were looking for opposition.
You're all right. Dude, real quick. Be real quick.
Just real quick, man. Basically, a lot of things that you said, you covered a lot of ground. I think what she was trying to do is just trying to find a reason to hate the immigration system or hate the undocumented. That's just my opinion. But of course, I spoke with you a couple weeks last week, and my parents, I'm pretty familiar with the immigration system because my parents came over here undocumented back in the 70s. And my ex-wife was undocumented, and she came when she was 3 years old. And we went through the immigration process. And, man, one of the things that she mentioned, and you were talking about a while ago, was the part where not sending them back when they seek asylum. What she was referring to is what they call secondary refuge. A lot of times the United States doesn't do that. They won't send them back, but they'll keep them here and then give them a court date. But if they want, what they can do sometimes, they can actually go to another country and say, hey, we have these refugees seeking asylum. We can't process them yet, but would you take them? And they'll say yes. And if they say yes, they send them that way. And but like I said, 9 times out of 10, they don't do that. They usually keep them here, give them a court date. But anyways, man, just a real quick thing. You know, you hit the nail on the head. 80% of them do overstay their visas, and my parents were one of those 80%. When they were here, they went through the process, but again, this was over in the 70s. It was a whole lot easier to do it in the 70s. You just apply for it, and it was a quick process. But now, when I went with my ex-wife, when her and I did it, she had to go through a long process, and that was going through Homeland Security. Homeland Security, she didn't have a lot of documentation. They just kind of take in what she could prove. And when she did take it in, they take fingerprints, man. They even take DNA. They will go as far as even scanning your eyes. I think the system was called a BAT system, I think, at the time. It's been a while. I can't remember the name, but they even do a retinal scan of your eyes and stuff, and they go through the process. And once you're going through the process, man, they give her what they call an I-10 number, an ITIN. Of course, you mentioned that earlier. That way when she could work, she gets a work permit, she could work, and also pay taxes. And a lot of these undocumented, they have an I-10 number, and all they do is go through the Mexican consulate office. And of course, I live in Texas, so that right there, one of the places located in Dallas. So you see a lot of them undocumented go there, get the I-10 number, they even get an ID, and then they go through the process of getting their residency and stuff like that to go through it. One thing that a lot of people don't know is in order to become a resident or even go through the process, the sponsor, you have to find a sponsor. And I was my ex-wife's sponsor. So my qualifications for her, I had to make over $75,000 a year. That's what I had to, yes. And if, let's say, for example, the sponsor had a family, well, that sponsor with the family has to make over $120,000 a year. So if it's not a person, a business can even sponsor that person too. So that's even a way to do it. But a lot of times the sponsor is a person. And the reason why they ask for sponsors is because if they do get approved for the residency and then they become citizens or whatever, they are disqualified from applying for any type of government assistance.
Oh,
they
okay.
they cannot go through, they cannot get food stamps, they cannot get WIC, they cannot get whatever, any type of assistance through the government. That's what the sponsors are. Basically, the sponsors are saying, like, hey, yeah, if she goes into any trouble, financial trouble, I'm there, I can sponsor her.
Gotcha. It's also a point of contact if they lose track, right?
Exactly, okay. Man. And again, like I said, I think she was just trying to. I just have a feeling she hasn't found a reason to hate it or to hate that there's people coming over here. To me, she sounded like a Trump supporter, and I mean that's just because she hit a lot of talking points, and even though you're spitting out facts, and I was agreeing with everything you said, you're hitting things on the head that she just wanted proof. I mean, there's proof out there. Look it up, and you mentioned Pew Research Center. That's one of the good places to look at it. Homeland Security has a lot of info. So, I encourage people to do that. I mean, a lot of people say close the borders or these are undocumented. Man, 80% of those people over here overstay their visas. They're trying to seek residency. They're trying to seek a better life. And like I said, man, I appreciate everything you said, man, but you covered a lot, everything that I wanted to say to you. But one more thing, man, when you go through the process, I want to mention to people is that when we went through it, we had to get an attorney, and the purpose for an attorney is every time you put in a form, you have to pay a fee. Sometimes those fees can average.
That's right. And you were saying like if you screw up on one of them, you just have to pay the fee again and start over, right?
That's correct. Crazy. So that's the purpose of the attorney. Yeah. So and I think ours was about $10,000 to $12,000. What it ended up costing us total. And man, I mean, if a lot of people take into consideration, you come over here with nothing but the clothes on your back, you can't dish out $10,000 or $12,000 that easy. Hell, I made $75,000 that year. Hell, I couldn't even dish that out as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, like I said, a lot of people are just uneducated into the process, man. And I just encourage people to look into it, read about it, and man, educate themselves because, like I said, a lot of people are willful or just willful ignorance. That's all it is, and they want things to fit their narrative. They don't want to admit that they were wrong, And I think that's what the last caller or Willa, whatever her name is, I think that's one of her reasons. Like, she just doesn't want to accept it for what it is.
Yeah, for
You
what
know,
I mean, I give her credit. She's willing to talk. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but yeah,
that
maybe.
is true.
Yeah,
That is true. I do give her that too. Yeah, I agree with that too.
yeah. All right,
But
brother.
again, man,
I
yeah.
appreciate you clearing that up for me. Thank you.
Hey, man, no problem, man. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Keep on doing what you're doing, man. I enjoy your show.
Thanks, DG. We'll see you.
All right, brother.
Bye. All right, DG. Thank you. Like I said, anybody's welcome to come back up. William, May, I do see you. There's been some people waiting. Let me clear out this box. I'm happy to come back to you, but let me just make sure the people that were waiting get through. William.
Hey, good afternoon. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. Good. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, I was gonna kind of piggyback off of Willa May there. She kind of did get a little excited. I guess the term I'll use when
Yeah, we all do. We all do that.
Yeah. I mean, there are some statistics. The reason why we have to do this lawfully and legally, and I agree, our country needs immigrants, legal immigrants, and we wholeheartedly, we are a loving country, okay? And we try to accept everybody that you can, but when your house is dirty, it's hard to invite people over. Okay, the homelessness is out of control.
Man, if my house was dirty, I would still take in people that I knew that needed a place to stay. Right? If my house was dirty, I'm still going to do what I can to help others.
And that's your opinion. You know what I mean? I would not. And I'm not just saying like
you wouldn't help somebody out because your house was dirty.
It was a metaphor, brother. I'm not. Come on now.
Well, I know, but that's what I just said. I would still help them out if my house was dirty, and you said you wouldn't.
Okay. So your family doesn't have anything to eat. They only have saltine crackers to eat because you have no money left.
Yeah.
Are you going to feed other people steaks and lobster and clear out your bank account for other people while your own family doesn't eat?
I don't think that's very analogous to what's happening at the southern border.
We don't have money right now.
We have a lot of money, but again, these people are coming here to work.
Hold on a second. We have a lot of money. It's a lot of your money. It's a lot of my money. It's our tax dollars. Why are we willing to just give it to people that we don't know?
What do you mean give it to people we don't know? Who's getting the money? How are they getting money?
Okay, when these asylum seekers go to New York, Chicago, they get housed, they get fed, that's not free. Somebody has to pay for that.
Okay, so what you're saying is like if it's an asylum seeker comes from like a third world country, we should just leave them outside and not feed them.
I said the legal ones, absolutely bring them.
I just said asylum seekers. That's a legal process, right?
Yes, asylum seekers.
And so we shouldn't house them and feed them?
No, we should help them out. I'm in agreement with you with that.
Okay.
I'm talking about the illegal crossers that aren't seeking asylum. The people that are just abusing our system. Do you know what the crime rate is?
If somebody shows up in your city and they may have come here illegally, we should just not give them any shelter, not feed them.
Well, we should shelter them until we put them on a plane and get them back to their country.
Well, that's going to cost money.
I understand, but it's cheaper in the long run.
Cheaper in the long run than what? Why is it not cheaper to say like, hey, welcome, here, we'll help you find a job?
It's illegal. We have laws.
It's illegal. Well, that's why we change our laws to make it easier for them to get a job, right?
Who changed the law?
No, I'm saying that's why we should change the law to make it easier.
I don't agree with you on that. Like I would like to clean our house up and get our economy better and make sure that there's no homeless people that are living on the streets right now. Why don't we help them out first? Those are Americans.
Well, we're trying to, but Republicans keep standing in the way of anything that would fix homelessness.
So what has the left proposed that would fix it? Free injection sites so they can shoot up?
That does help, yeah. That does help.
That was helpful. Oh yeah. Hey,
well, I don't know. Have you seen any of the studies done on that, William?
No, I have not.
So they did this. I believe it was in Denmark. I might have the country wrong. They did this in Denmark. They had a drug problem, and what they did is they set up these injection sites where people could come. They could get a non-lethal dose of their drugs with clean needles. And at those sites, they also had like job training. They had places they could be educated. And what they found is that I think it dropped. I want to say 800%. I don't have it in front of myself in front of me, but I think it dropped the addiction rate by like 800%. You had more people employed. You had more people who were now clean off of drugs. You had people who were more educated. It actually did fix the problem. Because what do you think the problem is to fix homelessness?
Okay, so hold on. I just want to go back to the Denmark thing. Did we implicate all of their policies and try to mirror that to help our citizens out when we built these free injection sites? Or did we just build them and just let them get high?
I think you meant implement.
Yeah, implement. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, well, we didn't do anything. Some cities did that. But even having a place where people can go and have access to like just even clean needles, that's still better.
I think it's still better when we
What's your solution?
Well, if you're using an illegal drug, one, it's illegal, so you need to go to jail.
Okay, so now we've got to pay to house these people. We have to pay for their attorney. We have to pay to house them, and now they forever have a criminal record, and it's going to be almost impossible for them to find a good job later on. Do you think that's the right solution?
Well, hold on a second, and then we put them through a treatment program and get them better.
Okay, and we pay to put them in jail. Why don't we just pay to do what seems to work better? Because we know what the recidivism rate is, right? Most of the time people don't get clean in jail and stay clean after they come out. It's actually pretty rare. So if we look at the Denmark model, you saw that the recidivism rates were much, much lower. Much higher recidivism rates when you go to jail.
Well, yes, and the part that you missed when I said once they get out, they just can't be let free. They have to go into a hospital where they will become clean, where we can fix them.
We pay to house them for years. We go through rehab. Then we pay once they come out. We've got to pay for them to go stay in a hospital as well. This all sounds way more expensive than the Denmark way, which seems to work better too, because again, the recidivism rate. It kind of seems like a lot of times Republicans are obsessed with like punishing people. You want to punish people who do drugs rather than just like fix it. It's an addiction. It's an actual illness.
It is, and that's why I said they need help. It seems like you have an issue with, because you're like, so we have to pay for this and pay for that. Those are Americans. But to let everybody over the border, you don't mind paying for them. It's okay.
Well, you're going to have to explain to me what we're paying for. Like, I don't know if you've heard any of the things that I advocated for. I advocate to make it easier for people who come across the border to work here. I'm advocating that the system be a lot easier. I'm literally advocating for cheaper ways, less court, less intervention. Let people get here and start to work and start their lives. Start paying into the system, pay for the roads that they're driving on. I'm advocating to make it possible for people to show up and contribute right away.
And I would agree with you on that. But that
your party doesn't, though.
What's that?
But the party doesn't. The Republican Party doesn't agree with that.
No, we stand for legal immigration.
No, Absolutely. You just say that but then you also make the legal immigration harder. You're not doing anything to make it easier. You're making it harder.
Well, good things in life don't come easy, okay?
Dude, that's just a dumb thing. Good things in life sometimes come easy. Sometimes they do. Have you ever found money on the street? That's pretty fucking easy. Has anybody ever gave you like a really good cupcake? That comes pretty easily. It's not that hard to have a child in this world. Like, in fact, the process of creating a child comes pretty easy for some people, and it's a lot of fun. Lots of things in life come easy. For Donald Trump, he was able to be a millionaire just by being born into the right family. Lots of things come easy. That's just a catchphrase that's silly.
Okay, for most people, it doesn't come easy. Life is not easy, okay?
I would say life is easy, but some things
didn't come easy.
So why not make it easier?
Because I had to work my ass off.
No, why not make it easier?
Why not make it easier? Because making it easier takes money out of my pocket.
How?
Okay. So right now, we're housing in Chicago, New York. I'm paying for that.
Where do you live?
I live in Maryland.
Okay, the people paying that are the people that live there. So you're not paying shit.
Okay,
you're just upset for no reason.
We have illegals here
that
they take old buildings and they have to pay for all of that. Like, why would you?
What do you mean they take old buildings? What do you mean they take old buildings?
They take over old schools, old buildings, and they shove all these immigrants in there.
Oh, so buildings that aren't being used? They house people in buildings that aren't being used. Oh no!
Correct.
Oh no! That's terrible, William. I can't believe they would do that.
Hold on.
It's
Now we need to turn
terrible.
the AC on. We got to turn the heat on. Who
Oh
pays for
no,
that?
they can't freeze to death. Oh
Who pays
no.
for it though? I do.
Yeah, we all do. That's kind of how this works.
I don't want to. I don't want to
Well, I'm
spend my
sorry,
money.
buddy, but you pay for a lot of shit you probably don't like. That's how taxes work.
That's why we vote for who we vote
Well,
for.
why
I
don't
don't
you?
want
Yeah, so
massive
why don't you
immigration.
make it possible for all these people to just work and then they'll pay taxes and then your city that you live in will have more money because more people will be paying taxes and they can work and afford to pay for their own place to live.
And those are the legal immigrants. I have no
Oh
issue
my
with that.
God.
I
No,
have
lots.
no issue
Wait,
with that.
wait. Lots of people come here illegally that just want to work. I don't know if you know that.
I do know that. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so then why did you say it's just the legal ones?
I said I want the legal immigrants to go
Okay.
through the process.
Okay, but
and
I
not
said
just walk over the
why don't we
border.
make it easier to let them to like make a process that's easier so people can come here and work quickly.
Okay, so now as an American, I have children. Okay, now my children need to go find jobs. We
Yeah.
let over 2 million, 3 million immigrants per year over here. It's going to make it harder for my children to find a job.
Well, then why are
Okay,
there 9 million jobs currently that are vacant?
I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you don't.
I don't. Well, why don't
Nobody's
you
coming
tell
to
me
take
why
your
they're vacant?
children's jobs. What are you talking about, man? You
And
know
what type of
that
jobs
like
are they?
we're having less and less children, right? You know that, right? There's less and less children. The baby boomers who are like such a massive population, like they're literally dying off. We need to replace a lot of labor very quick. Like in the next 10 to 15 years, we have to replace an insane amount of labor. And unfortunately, it's too expensive for a lot of people to feel like they want to have 6 kids. So we're not going to have the labor that we need to replace some of this stuff.
Okay, let me look. So you said there's 9 million jobs available. What types of jobs are they?
Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard from the last call.
Why does it matter what type of jobs they are?
Because if they're sweeping the floors or picking apples and the
Careful
bullshit
with this.
jobs that are,
This is going to sound an awful lot like you think people from southern countries south of our border can only do those types of jobs. I'm sure you don't mean that, but that's careful because that's what it sounds like you're saying.
I'm asking you what type of jobs are they?
No, and well, I'm asking you why it matters, and you said because if it's sweeping floors or picking apples, and I was just being careful to make sure you didn't say something that was going to come off kind of racist, which I'm sure you're not.
No, I'm not.
That's what I'm saying. So I was just helping you.
I don't need to help. I'm not going to say nothing racist. I'm not that dumb.
You were getting real close.
No, I wasn't.
So why does it matter what kind of jobs they are then?
Those types of jobs are a dime a dozen. No one cares about those jobs. No. So let me tell you this.
So we just don't need to fill them?
Yes, we do need to fill them.
60% of the jobs are in service and hospitality.
Service and hospitality. There you go. Those are high school jobs for high school students.
Full time. These are full-time jobs, by the way. What high school student has a full-time job?
You're talking hospitality.
And service.
I worked in service.
These are
I
full-time
worked as
jobs.
a
Can you
bartender. I
respond
worked
to
as
what
a
I said?
server.
Do you know a lot of high school kids with full-time jobs?
Not many. There are some.
I just got back. I was just recently stayed in a Marriott resort. I don't think a single person I saw there was high school aged. Every single person working there was clearly an adult. So
Okay. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe
so
high
again, so 9 million jobs. If 60%, let's call it 5.2 million of those are in service and hospitality. How are we going to fill those jobs?
How many Americans aren't working right now?
Why aren't you answering any questions? Why did you just answer my question with a question?
Because you want to fill all of our American
No,
jobs.
I asked. No, what I said is no. I asked a question. See, and you're still not answering it. You're now ascribing motives. I'm saying, I'm giving you the opportunity to tell me how we are going to fill those jobs.
With Americans.
Well, how come they're not filled then? Because we have Americans here, and we've got 9 million jobs sitting just vacant.
I don't know. Ask the people who want those.
Unemployment is at almost historic lows right now.
So we have 6 million Americans unemployed.
Yeah, 3.8%.
So why are those people unemployed? Is it more beneficial for them to be on unemployment and not work opposed to taking those jobs?
It
So
could be,
yeah, you gotta
it
see
could be,
why.
it could not, it could be, it could not be. But my question is, how are you going to fill these jobs? Not can you figure out, like, what are you going to do to fill these jobs?
Stop giving away free money to the lazy Americans that don't want to
Do
work.
you know
That's
why
real
those six?
simple.
Yeah, do you know why those 6 million might not be working?
They're getting supported by some other way, by
So,
by by Big Daddy government.
big debt. Okay, is it possible that they don't need to work?
So they wouldn't be looking for employment then. That you drop out of the unemployment rate when you say I'm not looking for work. That's not part of that statistic.
Well, when do you drop out of the unemployment?
When you stop looking for
Okay,
employment.
gotcha. So we're building all these businesses. We're building jobs. Our economy is recovering very nicely from COVID, and there's all these jobs that are sitting vacant. And there's all these people at the southern border coming looking for jobs. And you say, no, let's not take people here that are looking for work. Let's figure out a way to force Americans to take these jobs. That's what you think the solution should be.
And you're assuming that all these illegal immigrants are
I'm just
all
asking
looking
you
for work.
I'm just asking you a question.
No,
I didn't assume anything. I said there's all these people. I didn't say all of the people coming across the southern border are looking for jobs. I didn't even say a percentage. I said there's all these people down at the southern border who are looking for jobs, and your solution is to say, no, you can't come here. We're going to force Americans to take jobs. That's what you're saying. Is that right?
I'm saying that I need a figure of how many at the southern border say, I need a job.
Why do you need a figure for that? Because I'm asking you for a solution, and so far you're just like trying to pick apart everything I say. It seems like, and by the way, this is what it seems like with Republicans in general, including the people you continue to vote for, is they don't have a fucking clue in hell what they're going to do. They just want to keep demonizing immigrants because there's no real plan from Republicans. Show me the plan from Republicans where they're going to do a goddamn thing.
Okay, so Republicans are trying to keep the immigration process lower. Okay, that is their goal.
Yeah, I know, and I'm asking the question: Jesus Christ, dude? The question is, how are you going to fill these jobs? And I said, what are Republicans doing? And your response was, keep the immigration rate low. Cool. Not even close to an answer, dude.
Hold on.
What's the plan?
Put out a now hiring sign.
Oh, that's probably it. It's probably that nobody had a now hiring sign. That's probably what happened. William, William, if you are even remotely honest, even remotely, you'll know you don't have an answer to this, and you'll know that your party doesn't either. Now, ask yourself why your party doesn't want to fix this.
I don't want it filled by an illegal. That's what I do know.
Why not make them legal immigrants then? Why not make it easier to have them work here legally?
We have a legal process go through.
Jesus fuck, dude. Answer the question. Don't just keep saying shit you've heard.
I like our
Why don't we make it easier?
I don't want to. So
why?
You're asking me,
so you don't want to fix the problem. Why not, William? Why not, William? Let's talk about it. Why not, William?
Hold on a second. So are you telling me
why not, William? Why not, William? Why don't you want to fix it?
Because I think it's perfect the way it is.
It's perfect the way it is. It's perfect to have 9 million jobs sitting open. It's perfect that the majority of the middle class can't afford an emergency bill. It's perfect. Everything's perfect. You must think Joe Biden's doing one hell of a job then.
How does our middle class get affected by their... I don't even know what that statement meant.
I know you don't. But the problem is...
Please explain.
Go ahead.
No, please explain.
Yeah, so if you have vacant jobs, that means there is work that's not getting done, right? Which means the company that has those vacant jobs is likely making less money, right?
They're probably making more money, making the other workers work harder.
Oh my God, William.
But go ahead. Because I know when we got job openings, I just work harder.
William, this is the problem with Republicans in general. You never know what the fuck you're talking about. And no matter what point you're given, you're going to pivot to something stupid like that. Everybody in the world knows that if you don't have the labor for your company to accomplish the goals that you want, that you make less money. But you're so you're so obsessed with like making sure a liberal like me can't get a point on you is that you say dumb shit like they probably make more money by forcing people to work more hours. Sure they do, William. Sure they do. Dude, like is there any part of you that's authentic at all, or are you just like I'm a Republican no matter what, and no matter what is said I'm just going to defend it?
I am a Republican.
Okay, but you don't know anything. Like what is your party doing to fix this problem?
We did have it fixed. We closed down our
You didn't
border.
have it fixed. You didn't. There were still jobs there were still vacant jobs. The border wasn't closed. You didn't have it fixed, and then COVID came out and wiped out a good chunk of the workforce. I don't know if you know that, but a lot of people passed away during COVID. Sorry if you didn't know that. A lot of people are left with long-term disability from COVID. A lot of people went bankrupt from COVID. We have to build back after COVID, and your party doesn't want to they don't seem to want to do anything about it except for complain, which is terrific for you because that seems to be your default nature.
Who's complaining?
You are complaining. You're complaining about illegal immigration while not acknowledging the solutions or any valuable solution that would actually make things better in this country. Because you know what the truth is, William? I think you've got a problem with people coming here that look differently than you, which is why you don't have any real arguments for why you're against it, and you're kind of just dancing around it, which is why so many of the things that you've said today sound like just on the edge of racism, just right on the edge of it. And usually when somebody says that many things right around the periphery, it's a pretty good indicator that this person might just not like people that look different than them.
That's false.
Okay, then explain it, William. Explain what you think we should do to solve this problem.
Okay. So when you look at the border, I don't have all the solutions, okay?
So far you have zero solutions.
But what I can tell you is that in 2019, individuals being convicted of crimes was at 4,200. 2020 was 2,400. 2018
We're talking about employment, you potato. You're now just Googling shit about, you're now Googling crime statistics. We're talking about we're talking about employment, dude.
I'm telling you why I don't want illegals here.
No, I'm not talking about fixing I'm talking about fixing the jobs issue. If you don't want people who are here from other countries, how are you going to fix this problem?
Make Americans work.
How?
How fucking hard is that?
How are you going to do that, William?
Stop giving them free shit.
Do you know that these people are getting free shit?
How many people are on welfare?
Do you know?
How many people are on welfare? I'm talking Americans.
They're not included in the.
How many Americans are on welfare?
William, they're not included in these labor statistics, you fucking potato.
How many Americans
They're not included in the labor statistics. Stay on subject, dude. We have jobs that are not being filled. I'm asking you what to do to fix it. Your answer was force Americans to work. I said how. You said stop giving them money. I said, well, who's getting it? Because if you're talking about people with disability, you're talking about people on unemployment. They're not included here. How many times do I have to ask this before you realize, like, you just don't like people from other countries?
No, I want
America. Well, then give me something sensible so I don't have to conclude that.
First.
Give me some. Well, you didn't have a solution for fixing homelessness. You didn't have a solution for fixing drug use. You didn't have a solution for fixing these jobs. It sounds like all you want to do is complain.
Make the lazy Americans work.
How?
That's the solution.
How?
Take away their SNAP benefits. Take away their shit that's for free and make them work. What's wrong with that?
How?
You get no more money. Here's a job. Go work.
Yeah. What if there's no job?
You just said there's 9 million of them.
Well, so are you going to help them move? Hey,
Make
William, what if there's no jobs available in their area? Calm down. Are you going to help? Hold on. Are you going to pay to help them move?
See, now you're paying. That's bullshit. There's 9 million jobs. And
there's a lot of places where there are not jobs. There's lots of places around this country where there's not jobs. I don't know if you know how statistics work, but there's plenty of places where people can't find a job. Meanwhile, there's openings in other places. So my question is, since they don't have any money, are you going to help them move?
I will help out Americans before illegals, yes.
Okay, so why isn't your party advocating for that then? Why are they not advocating subsidies and grants for people who want to move to other places so they can get employment?
We try to take people off welfare. And
Why,
Democrats,
dude? Do you know how questions work? When somebody asks you a question, you respond to what they just said. You don't just say the first fucking thing that comes in your head. So I'll try it again. Why is your party not advocating that where there's jobs opening, that we help pay for Americans to move into those areas?
I would help pay for it. Yes, I would.
Not even close to an answer to what I just said, William.
You want me to speak for someone else?
I want to know why your party doesn't advocate for a single solitary solution that would fix any of this.
I gave you a solution that would fix that.
No, I said, why doesn't your party advocate for a single solitary solution that would fix this?
I can't speak for someone else.
Then why are you such a Republican? Why do you love the Republicans so much?
Hold on, did the Democrats offer what you just
Yeah,
said?
yes, they have. Yeah, they have. Why do you think
more people on welfare
Yeah.
than anybody?
What's that?
Democrats have put more people on welfare.
In what states?
There was less people on welfare under the Trump administration than Biden or Obama. So those are facts. You can go ahead and look that up.
Look what up?
About the amount of people on welfare when Trump was in office. He put people to work, Americans to work.
How did he do that?
By bringing jobs to America and making people get off welfare. We had the least amount of people on welfare under Trump.
Highest percentage of people on welfare, by the way, largely red states.
Okay, so now you're
okay. Yeah. So why do red states do so poorly then? It looks like blue states are doing a good job making sure people have jobs, making sure that people can afford to live on their own without being on benefits. But if I look at the top ones, the outlier here is going to be District of Columbia, but you have New Mexico, District of Columbia, Louisiana, Oregon, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Illinois.
You're talking about percentages, right? Not just raw.
Well, because that's the way that you would check.
Yeah,
that's the way that you would. That's the way that you would see like which state is doing the best job keeping their citizens off of government assistance. You would do it by percentage. You wouldn't do it by total number because that would be silly. Because then you'd look at a place like California, who has like more population than virtually all the red states combined, and you would have the opportunity to be like, oh, well, California's the worst. But if you look at it by percentage, it's mostly red states.
I know, but the sheer quantity is all blue states.
Yeah, so. There's more people in blue states, you potato. Why are the red states so much worse at this? If they're so good at this, if Republicans are so good at keeping people off of benefits, then why do red states overwhelmingly have the most per capita on benefits?
Well, blue states usually...
Why do red states have more people on benefits? Don't respond by changing the subject. Answer the question.
I wasn't, because they don't have the big
blue states. No, that's how. Yeah, answer the question.
They don't have the big businesses as the blue states.
Why not?
Why not? Because Republicans built that shit and moved out. Like, what do you mean? Why not?
They built this. They built it and then moved out. They build their businesses and then they move to blue states where they're going to be taxed more. That's what you're thinking is happening.
New York City was built on the backs of Americans and immigrants and everything.
It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with Republicans and Democrats right now. Shush. Nobody gives a shit about that. Explain to me why red states have more people on benefits. Explain to me why red states have more people on benefits if they're so goddamn good at this.
I just told you.
Because New York built the... No, that has nothing to do with Republicans and Democrats, dude.
Bigger cities have bigger businesses. They can employ more people. Okay?
Weird, but wait. So blue states where you pay higher taxes, right, and it's more expensive to live generally. Even though it's more expensive to live and they pay more in taxes, they have less people on government assistance. It's almost like if you have higher taxes, that it works better. Weird.
No, it doesn't. It's weird that you drove out all the people, the Republicans, and left your state. Though in the state that it's in right now.
Wait, so people left so all the smart people left the Republican states? Is that what you're saying?
No, they fled out of the blue.
Why? What? Wait, what? Oh, you think? Wait, hold on. Are you saying that people without money, people who don't have any money, people who are on government assistance, went to red states. Now, how did they afford to move to red
And do you
states?
think there's only Democrats in New York and in California? There's
No,
Republicans
no,
there too.
dude. I think that you don't know what you're talking about. I think that's what I think.
You're foolish.
Yeah, sure.
You
I
gotta
am.
know the
I
raw
am.
numbers.
You're
You
what
gotta
you
know the raw
think. What you
numbers.
think is that
Percentages are bullshit.
poor people are running from blue.
Percentages are bullshit.
So you think that poor people are running from blue states to go live in red states, and that's why the numbers are higher in red states. And then you said you're foolish. That was it. That's literally what you just said. Literally what you just said, dude. That's what you said. Okay, then why? Then tell me why the numbers are higher in red states. All right, William. Bye. I'm not. Here's the numbers. States with highest percentage of SNAP recipients: New Mexico 25%, DC 21%, Louisiana 20%, Oregon 17%, West Virginia 17%, Oklahoma 16%, Alabama 15%, Florida 15%, Georgia 15%, Illinois 15%. If you want to look at welfare recipients per capita, New Mexico comes in at number one. Then you get rid of DC, by the way. New Mexico comes in at number 1. Louisiana 2, West Virginia 3, Mississippi 4, Oklahoma 5, Alabama 6, Illinois 7, Oregon 8, Nevada 9, Rhode Island 10. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Top 6 are red states, with New Mexico just recently switching to a blue state. So yeah, cool. Yes, California has the most people on welfare. They also have the most people, but by percentage, which is the way that you judge this, it's not California. That looks like a very friendly box, guys. Just take an opposition right now, please. I understand, but I'm going to give Miss Julie we're going to have a Miss Julie palate cleanser, though. Miss Julie.
Hi, Jay.
Hi.
Can you wonder why I'm in such a calm and delightful mood right now and not shouting what the fucking bigot is that guy?
Why?
That's because Officer Simmons and Officer Dean are here. They're letting me smoke a cigarette before I leave. Now,
Are you being
wonder what
arrested?
happened. Are you wondering what happened?
Yeah, are you being arrested?
Well, I think that's going to depend on how calm I can stay right now. Officers, do you mind? Thank you, dear. Yeah, there's some pudding in the fridge. Chocolate and sugar-free whipped cream. Spoons
So
are
what's
on
going on?
the Oh, they don't know, but I'm high as balls.
Well, they might have heard that, Miss Julie, if they have ears.
They're getting pudding.
Okay,
It's
everybody's just trying. So why are the police there?
I'm gonna have to go back just a little bit to last night.
Okay.
We'll see. I'd been scraping pigeon shit off the walls and out of the carpet for about a good 5 hours. I was coughing and wheezing and dodging and had to put on some safety glasses and it was just hell. So after the sun came up, I'd really had enough. Jay, can you imagine me, an old woman, alone in my apartment after suffering the harrowing event of my vaccination ordeal?
Yeah. Listen, it seems to just be one thing after another with you. It just the shit keeps
Yeah,
coming.
well, I went down to the laundry room and I snapped the hose off the washing machine, brought it down here, turned it on full blast, and started trying to sandblast that shit off the wall. Well, I was so angry. It didn't occur to me that I had flooded the entire 4 floors below me. I overlooked that part. The water runs down. I'm up high. I fucked the place up. So the neighbors were complaining and banging on my door, and I just had put you on and was listening, and well, I kept getting madder and madder. Told the neighbors to go away. Still spraying water. You can't stop me now.
You can't.
So I decided to take a break because Billy Joe Jim Bob's Roadkill Cafe sent me a 20-pack of pigeon poppers.
Because you had
And
donated so many.
because
Yeah,
I
that's
told them
beautiful.
all those tasty pigeons. So yeah, I had my 20-pack of pigeon poppers, and I had a bottle of that Kingsley Ted's Taint Paint hot sauce. Whew, that'll get you good. Kill anything that's in your mouth, taste or germs.
Okay.
So I realized I couldn't eat it though because my teeth had been in the toilet.
Sure.
Do you know how to disinfect teeth, Jay?
I think. Yeah. I thought you were supposed to put them in the toilet. I'm not sure.
No, I took them out of the toilet and I don't want ass in my mouth. I'm not a fan of tossed salad, Jay.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway,
Anyway,
so I was listening to your show, Graham.
show.
Your show, Graham.
Yeah.
And I got so mad at the last bigot that was up here, I was screaming things like, drug testing people on their benefits. You know how many people that is? And I started raising my voice higher because did you know that 5 to 10% of people that are on assistance are using illegal drugs?
I
And
did
you
not
know
know
what you
that.
may find surprising, Jay? My voice got a lot higher because of this. You know the average percentage of everyday Americans that use illegal drugs, RJ?
I don't know.
5 to 10%!
This-
It was just that kind of nonsense, but apparently the screaming made the people in the hallway get a little nervous. So they called Officer Simmons and Officer Dean, and fortunately they're fans of your show, Graham, which is
Good.
why they're letting me talk to you right now.
Good. Tell my set I appreciate the support.
They're waving their spoons. They got mouths full of pudding. Pretty good to you. So anyway,
Well, thank you, Miss
oh,
Julie. I appreciate
they're
that.
motioning me to the door, Jay. Apparently we're leaving now. I don't imagine this worked out too well in my favor.
Let me know if we need to call a bail bondsman.
Um,
I'll make the
yeah,
phone call personally.
we might need bail, Jay. We might need bail. I
Okay.
wouldn't doubt it this time. God, I've really done fucked it up. It's all because of the bigots and the xenophobes, Jay.
They'll do that
Because
to
you
you.
let that lady talk over you like you were scared of hurting her feelings.
I was
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation, and I knew if I raised my voice, all hell was going to break loose.
RTP is a liberal beta soy boy cuck.
That's
Bye,
right. Hey,
Jay. It was
best of
so
luck to you,
good to
Jill.
see you. If I
Good
need
to see
bail,
you.
I'll call in. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Miss Julie. Guys, give me 1 second. I do not. You can see I'm sweating. I did not have my air conditioner on, and it got hot as shit in here. So give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. It got so hot all of a sudden. It's like went from like 75 degrees to 85 degrees in here, and I got sweaty. All right. Next up, Chris, you're next. Again, please just taking just opposition. I today, if we could. Besides Miss Julie, she's always. We have to check in with her. Hey, Chris. Oh, you motherfucker. What's up, dude?
Good. No, you didn't like the smiling face?
No, I don't like that. None of this friendly shit.
So once again, I come on, I don't know, about a week ago, man. And I keep hearing about these labor, people talking about labor and jobs. Again, I'm going to throw it out there. I never heard from anybody, but please reach out to me. The skilled trades can absolutely change our young people's lives. So there's open jobs everywhere for skilled trades. I went through a steam fitter welder apprenticeship. That was a springboard for me to go back to school. Now I work from home as a mechanical estimator for an engineering firm. So guys, it's out, guys and gals, it's out there. Just go get it. Unions are taking apprentices in. Just go get it. And all this stuff, you got to work with your back and your hands. You got to work with your hands, but any more safety's involved, they won't let you pick up anything over 50 pounds. You got to use some type of mechanical device. So the only con to the trades is overtime, which you're going to work. Something's going to sacrifice. You're going to be away from your family, working maybe 6-7 days a week on a shutdown, but it's absolutely a way out. When I was in the trades, over 100 grand.
Oh, you muted. You muted there. There you go. Oh, now we got that. Did you get a phone call?
Is it echoing?
Yeah. Let me pop you down. Well, let me get clear this box. I'll bring you back up in a couple minutes. Let me get to nobody real quick. I'll bring you back up, Chris. By the way, if you are looking for a job, if you're currently looking for it, like you want to work, add Chris. He's got all sorts of resources that can help you out. Nobody, welcome.
Hey, welcome. And first of all, I like you. I think that you're reasonable. I
Thank you.
think that you have your head on straight. I just want to talk about deprogramming for a second.
Sure.
And I just think that a lot of Republicans, including myself, I started off independent. And where it changed for me was with Liberty for All. I noticed that a lot of the stuff that I was saying online wasn't allowed to be said. A lot of stuff was being targeted by the opposition, which turned into the Democrat Party. So, what I want to know is if we're programmed, do you think the Democrat Party is also programmed to push the agenda of the government? And do we have still a right to question that government for everybody? Do we have liberty to question the government for everybody, or is it just
Of course.
only
Yeah.
the party?
I don't think that. I think it's probably a mischaracterization to say that the Democrats don't question the government.
I do believe that a lot of the things that is being pushed, the party that is mostly hauling the water for, like for instance, when we talk about carbon tax or different agenda for a climate crisis, we're not allowed to talk about the mechanisms that's causing the climate crisis. We just have to pay for the climate crisis and not worry about where the money's going.
What do
And
you
we
mean you're
can't
not?
question
What do you
those.
mean by that when you say you're not allowed to talk about the mechanisms that are causing the
Well,
crisis? What do you mean?
Miss Julie on her live, she blocked me because I said, "Why don't we talk about the bark beetles and the fires that's happening?" I get that humans are causing a climate crisis, but I also understand that there's other things causing it too. There's 1,000 different things or mechanisms we're not looking at, like the bark beetle causing the trees to die and they get a little dry, and that's what's causing more fires on these trees. But yet we're not looking at what's going on and what to prevent that from happening. We're putting more money to this carbon tax or the climate Paris Agreement, which is going to other countries. Uh, yeah,
Look, there's been legislation passed in a lot of states with how to deal with bark beetles.
but are we talking about on a whole what's creating these fires?
Well,
Is it just climate change or?
I guess you are, but like, there are. First of all, bark beetles. I don't. If I remember correctly, bark beetles. I don't think are in every state. I could be wrong about that, but there have been plenty of states. Specifically, I know Arizona. We have there was an executive order. I know Colorado has legislation. I think it was. I don't know if it was legislation or executive order in California. Lots of people are doing stuff about bark beetles. The
Okay.
issue the reason that probably look, Miss Julie can block whoever she wants. I don't people block whoever they want. I don't care. But I think the way that it comes across is like, of course there's bark beetles, right? Of course there's other reasons, there's other things that come into play with climate change, but that doesn't mean we just don't address things, right?
Well, I think her biggest problem was that the Paris Climate Agreement is a tax on businesses, which is passed down to everybody, which, in my opinion, raised inflation. But that money is mostly to tool the rest of the world away from petroleum, oil, which is affecting the climate, right? So
Yeah.
that does add to the cost of businesses. We're not really addressing that, but I would like to take
Okay,
a look at the
wait,
money.
but hold on. Is your argument that we're not addressing the actual causes of climate change, or is your
Yes,
argument that like some of the stuff we do affects business? Because those would be two different
yes.
conversations, right?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't know how to break it down. I'm not a professional speaker. You're much better at this than I am. So, which direction do you want to go?
Well, look, I'm not like I'm by no means an expert on climate science at all. But I do find this like when I look at the Republican Party and when I was a Republican, why do you think they fight so hard against any sort of like climate initiative?
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Could there be another reason why maybe the right fights so hard against climate?
Mostly ignorance. You're paying for something you don't understand, and that creates ignorance.
Could be money, right?
Education starts with understanding why you're getting fleeced or why you're being robbed. It's robbery until you understand that you're doing good. You can't do good until you understand that.
So you think that Republicans? The question I asked was why do Republicans fight against like climate change initiatives? And you said that
Money.
they're not educated enough.
Right.
Okay, so you're saying okay, fair enough. I agree. I think Republicans aren't educated enough. I agree with that.
And how do you educate people when you block them or turn them down or don't talk about this is
Look,
what
dude,
your money's being spent
if you're
for?
coming to TikTok to get educated, that's a problem. But like I'm talking specifically about the people that you guys keep electing in Congress. Why are
Well,
those people so uneducated about it then?
it is funny that I do come to TikTok for education, in the other half, but it's true. I do come to these platforms to learn what the opposition is, to try to understand why we're moving in a direction that we're going. It's kind of, and I do work all the time. I've been working since I was 11. School was not important for my family. We're a Catholic family. We were told work was more important than school. So yeah, I'm re-educating now at an older age of why is the economy and why is the world going in a certain direction. And I do use these platforms because it's an outlet, right?
Yeah, let me just ask you this: if do you think that if we keep doing what we're doing, like if we didn't make any changes to our what we're doing with fossil fuels, if we didn't invest in green energy, do you think the world would get better or worse?
Can you repeat the question?
So
But
if we stopped advancing our research and our innovation into climate like green energy initiatives, right? If we stopped doing that right now and we just kept consuming fossil fuel at the same rate we are now, do you think the climate would get better or worse?
that question is bigger than I understand,
That's fine. But
because
what
I'm
would you
not
get? What would you
educated.
guess?
I would I would have to make you angry by bringing up a misdirection or a pivot at this point, and I'm not going to do that because I understand that you don't like those, and I'm not educated enough to understand it.
Okay. So do you think that the people that you vote for are really educated on this?
No, no, I do
Okay.
not.
So then I'm kind of confused then because what you said is that the reason you became Republican is because you weren't allowed to discuss things, but you don't even know like who's saying and then you use Miss Julie blocking you as a reason for that. I guess I'm confused. Like
No,
I'm confused what drove you towards being a Republican. Maybe do we want to go back
that's
and maybe you
not.
could explain that a
I
little
didn't.
differently? Because I'm not sure
I
what you're
didn't
saying then.
use. Yeah, I didn't use Julie blocking me as a reason why I went from independent to Republican. I said that it's easily to shut people down when they are uneducated, when it's hard to educate people, when you have a platform of seven people or in a panel that talk over you instead of helping you understand something, when you question the authority of government, when you say, I don't understand why the money is being taken, where is it going? When you have these issues, what portion of that money is going to fix those issues, and where do I see that breakdown at? Why can't we ask those questions? It's our money.
Well, you can ask those questions, but you can also just go look at the spending bills. You can see where that money goes. It's just really difficult. I mean, imagine a corporation that had 300 million people and like that's complicated stuff. I think most of us aren't going to be able to understand that. It's not as simple as just like it's not like people aren't telling us. It's not like you can't find out. I mean, there's certain, especially like military spending. Some of that stuff's you're not gonna know exactly where it went, but for the most part, when they pass a budget, when you have spending, we see where that went. That's how we know how much we're in debt. That's how much we know what we're spending. You can look all this stuff up, but
Well,
it would take hours. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours.
I actually seen Mr. Jones debate here, and I seen him debate a lot. He's not for government spending, well, for military spending too. That should go back to the people. Do we even know what that spending's for? And isn't it a problem that we don't understand what our government's spending our money on? Um, And a lot of us don't even question it anymore. We just realize, hey, we're paying it and they're doing their job, and we don't even know what that
I
is.
just wonder again because the crux of this, like I agree with you there, but the crux of this was like you became a Republican for, and then you keep naming all these reasons, but they don't seem to really have anything to do with being a Republican.
Well, my biggest thing as a business owner myself, because I work a lot, is less government means Republican, right? And Democrats are for more government, but that spending, I don't understand where the spending really goes. What's the welfare
Well,
of that
Republicans,
money going to?
but Republicans only say that they're about less government. They don't actually do anything to make the government smaller. They consistently make the government bigger, and they consistently make the debt grow at faster rates. They increase deficit spending, and Democrats decrease deficit spending.
How has the deficit decreased under Democrats?
Let me look at. I'll pull up deficit spending by year. Okay, so is this going to give me that graph? That's not the year by year. Let me find the year by year one.
Do Democrats mean more welfare?
Not necessarily. No. I mean, we just went over. Now, somebody's telling me that the statistics is leaving out labor participation, but I can't find it.
It
Um,
is. Yeah. So Obama had to change that during our last recession in 2008 because we were going to collapse. He had to keep the money wheel going. And the way to do that is you had to move the numbers around so that we did not collapse and the dollar did not stop working and we didn't end up in a depression that nobody would be able to eat. He had to shift the people that were no longer participating into the workforce after so many months off of that register so that it made us look more competent so that we can borrow as a nation. So I don't
okay, but
disagree with that.
the numbers I was polling would have included that because they were post that year. So I don't know that that would really make my numbers wrong. But
So
I'll look into that.
after 2008, that all changed.
Yeah, and
Well,
I was
maybe,
looking
yeah.
at 2012 until now, so I don't think any of that would have made a difference. But yeah, like
And my wife voted
under
for
Obama
Obama.
every year we decreased deficit spending. Under Trump every year
Right.
we increased deficit spending. Under
Well, when
Bush
you're
every year we increased deficit spending. Under Clinton we
yeah,
decreased it.
when you're not reading all the numbers, of course, it's going to decrease it.
Oh my God, what? No, wait, we're talking about deficit spending, right?
Right. With people not working and then people that they gave up on that aren't,
No,
there's
that's not
people
what.
that
Wait,
can't
that's
collect
not.
welfare after so many months,
Wait.
right?
This has nothing to do with welfare. This has to do with our government spending.
It
This
all
has nothing
does.
to do with welfare. This has to do with the amount that our government spends versus what they take in.
Right. It's big.
So if you increase deficit spending, that means you're taking in more. If you increase it, you're taking in less money and increasing spending, right? And that rate always goes up under Republicans, and under Democrats, that rate always goes down. It's because Democrats don't necessarily stop spending, but they do increase revenues. We bring in more revenue, so the deficit spending is cut.
Well, whenever you borrow money, you increase revenue, right?
What?
Because it goes back into the economy.
Oh, dude, I'm talking about how much our government spends versus what they bring in with taxes. Under Republican rule, we spend more and bring in less in taxes. Under
Okay.
Democrats, we spend more and bring in more. That's why the
So
deficit
you
spending is
charge
cut.
more taxes for
Yeah,
regulation.
yeah. So that's yeah. It's a much smarter way, right?
I don't know. I don't like taxes. I think less
Well,
taxes is better for me.
okay, unless the deficit spending goes up, right? Because
Well,
you said that Republicans want to cut the size of government. Like if you're increasing our debt, if you're increasing our deficit spending, we now have a larger bill hanging over our head, right?
well, just so you know, I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I was independent, and I'm still not Republican. In fact, I am shying away from these people that are stealing as well. I feel like they're all stealing, and I don't feel like they're all doing us a disservice. I don't
Okay,
understand what the
I
solution
get it, but
is,
it seems
but
like you're playing like
but
both
yeah,
sidesism right now. But I just wanted to
yes,
I guess I wanted to get to your initial point where you said that like you're a Republican because the Democrats drove your way, or like currently you are, and what you said is because they're for
yes,
smaller government, but they're not for smaller government. When is the last time
yes.
a Republican decreased the size of government?
I don't know. I don't think that I can. That's why
I
I'm
mean,
actually.
Trump certainly
Uh,
didn't.
do you go by RTP?
Yeah, my name's Jay. You can go either way.
Jay,
Yeah.
Jay, I don't want to make you mad. I just want to have a
I'm not
decent
mad. I just stood
conversation. I
up because
realize you're,
my butt hurts when I sit
yeah.
down too long. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, I agree with so much you say. I can't question. I just understand that you're saying how do, so you're back behind you. It says, how do we get people to, what's that say?
Deprogram.
Deprogram.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way you can do that with education, but you can't educate people if they're shut down without questioning. And I do notice that whenever you question the government, that a lot of the people that are questioning the government get shut down before they even know they're wrong. So if they can't ever get to the point where they can,
Like,
uh,
what would be an example of that? Because that's just too broad. It's hard for me to respond to what I honest to God don't know what you're talking about. Could you give me like a because and that's why we got on climate change, but then that one didn't make a lot of sense to me. Is there something you feel like that like is being shut down by the left that you're questioning the government for something and the left is saying no, you
yeah,
can't question the government?
all conspiracies have a basis of truth, but yet conspiracies are shut down immediately until you work them down into whatever finite resource or whatever small amount of truth that leads to the lie could be.
So
So
what
apparently
if
it grabs roots.
what if the conspiracy is leading to like more harm? Then what? Then should we just allow it to be said? Like on my live, like if
Yes.
somebody's up here spreading misinformation on my live, and it's something that I think can harm people, do you think I should just allow that to keep happening?
When you speak with them and you put people on mute and you're allowed to interject and correct them with facts, does it not help the situation or does it hurt the situation
Yeah,
to
see,
continue?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask you to do the same thing I've asked everybody else. When I ask you a question, you can't respond with a question. You're shutting down conversation. I asked you a really specific question. If somebody shows up and they're saying something that is misinformation, or I believe it's misinformation or a conspiracy theory, and I believe it's harmful, are you saying that I should just allow that to keep happening?
When people talk about the history of,
Oh my God.
okay, I'll bring up a direct history point
Okay.
because you're getting mad and I don't want that. I like you.
Well,
I want to continue to
I feel
listen
like you're
to you.
not directly answering my
Uh,
questions. That's where the
no, I'm
frustration's
going
coming from.
to.
Okay. Go.
Well, because I don't want you to be upset and say you don't want to deal with me anymore and get rid of me permanently.
Okay.
I want to listen to your lives forever. I like your lives.
I'm not
It
gonna block.
allows me to think.
I don't block people unless you say
Yeah.
like racist
So
shit. So you're good.
okay. So when we're back, we have a picture of Hillary there, and it makes me think of the Uranium One scandal when we were getting rid of ranchers, and ranchers were removed. We had ranchers that were shot by our own government to remove them for the trade of that property to Russia for those rights, even though the uranium's in the ground. That was allowing for the businesses, the solar company, to open up, in Russia. So, and then they also allowed for them to get our rebates through our power companies, the rebates that the government allows for people to make cheaper power or make power, and all that stuff was shut down. But that stuff did happen, and it's not a complete conspiracy to say that it did.
I mean that story's been wildly covered from all sorts of angles, from the most conspiratorial to the most like generous to the Clintons. That story's been covered.
I,
I mean that was what in,
I lost
that
my
was
account in 2014 by
well,
speaking about it,
well I
and I've
can't
lost several accounts
I
by speaking about it,
well
and
but
that made
yeah
me
I
turn
understand,
into a
but that
Republican.
again, why does that make you a Republican?
Uh, because I'm for more liberty and I'm for less government telling people what they can and
That
cannot
wasn't,
say.
but that wasn't the government telling you what you can and cannot say, right? TikTok has advertisers. TikTok is
Well, that was on
beholden to
Twitter,
make
by the way.
profit. Okay, Twitter has advertisers. Twitter, if Twitter is just lets the conversation go anywhere, they're likely going to lose advertisers. They at the end of the day, they're still a business and they're a private business and they can choose what kind of speech they want and don't want on their site. Now, if the government, if you were saying that just to your friends and the government shut off your internet and said, don't talk about this ever again, like you and I would agree. But you're talking about a private business saying, like, we don't want this on our platform. and somehow you're saying like now I'm a Republican. That's silly.
So
Right? There's
you're
plenty of
saying,
stuff. I got kicked off Twitter once. It was I was really mean to somebody, right? But I didn't. It wasn't political. Twitter said like, yeah, you can't say what you said, and I got suspended from Twitter. It's happened to me. I've been suspended from TikTok for saying things I shouldn't say. It is what it is.
right, but
It's not my platform.
the government did tell Twitter what they were allowed to have on there. We know that there was
That
a
didn't
big giant
happen.
purge of
See
accounts.
now that's the tricky part. That didn't happen. This is where we probably got to get into it because there is
Oh,
not
perfect. Because
there's not a single piece of
Elon says
evidence
different.
that well Elon's lying.
I love Elon. So
Unless Elon is hiding information that he hasn't shown us, then he's lying.
I seen the Twitter files and I believe what they tell me
Well,
because maybe I'm uneducated, but I believe that he knows his company and I believe his company was
well,
railroaded into doing what they didn't want to.
the Twitter files was reported by Matt Taibbi. He was given exclusive access to just like the stuff that Elon wanted him to see, by the way. Only the stuff that Elon wanted him to see. And Matt Taibbi concluded that what the government did is they regularly communicated with Twitter and that they would say, hey, this could be problematic, or hey, this looks like misinformation. What he did not conclude is that there was any pressure from the government or any threat from the government to take something down or else, except for one time. And the one time and one time only was from the Trump administration when they asked Twitter to take down a tweet that called Trump a pussy ass bitch.
Right. Did you see
That's the
that
only instance of the government actually saying
no.
take something down.
Did you see the regulatory actions against Elon right now because he is trying to have an open and free platform that talks about things that the government doesn't like?
Do you recognize at all that you didn't respond to anything I said? Like you made a claim, I debunked your claim, and now you're moving on. Can you address what I said?
Okay, can you readdress it? Because
Yeah,
apparently I have that
I'll
tunnel
do it
vision.
more simply. You said that the Twitter files showed that the government was forcing Twitter to do something. There's no evidence of that. The only instance of the government ever telling Twitter to do anything was when somebody from Trump's administration asked for Twitter to take down that tweet about Trump. That's it. That's the only one. And this is from Matt Taibbi's mouth. This isn't something I said. This isn't something I made up. The guy who did the reporting said this exact thing.
Okay, I will agree with you for simplicity.
Okay. So why do you think then, if that's the case, say that's the case, why do you think so many Republicans still believe every day somebody comes on here and tells me that the government interfered? Why do you think they think that if it's not true?
The owner of Twitter at this point is telling us that it's true.
So why do you believe
Well,
him
he's
over
ex,
why
yeah.
do you believe him over the facts?
Because it's his platform, but he's being told what he can and cannot do, and if he doesn't listen, he's going to get fines for it, right? They're
No,
going to
that's
target
not.
his businesses.
Wait, so Elon Musk is being told he's going to be fined by who?
If you look at what was said yesterday, they're going to look into his businesses because he's not playing ball. They don't want certain speech online, and that's government oversight.
The
And
SEC they're suing him because he refuses to testify about Twitter stock purchases. So they have flagged some stock purchases that look a little fishy, and he refuses to testify.
I do believe the
Don't you
government
think
is
the
weaponized.
SEC? Don't you think that SEC doing their job is what the SEC should be doing?
I don't see it's even though, but yeah, the
What do you mean it's
FCC
not even? What do you mean it's not
even
even? No, what do you mean it's
even.
not even?
I believe the government targets individuals, and I believe it overlooks other individuals.
So this it's just a gut feeling that you think the government just goes
Yes.
after. Okay, so can you explain to me why the president's son is having hearings about him and multiple court cases because he didn't pay his taxes? Because could you
Okay.
name one other person who had this kind of
I don't
exposure
want to talk about
for
things
not
though.
pay? No, I'm just saying if you're saying it's uneven, please explain to me why this wasn't just settled out of court. Please explain to me why it wasn't like every other person who doesn't pay their taxes who just negotiates a settlement with the IRS and it goes away.
I just think that's a pivot,
No,
and I
you
don't want to
said no,
talk about
no.
Trump.
Hold on. Let me explain why it's not a pivot. Because what you said is you believe that it's one-sided. So I showed you something on the other side.
No, that's not my side. I'm not Republican.
You just said it
I
was. Then
told you.
what? Then it's one-sided to who? What sides are you talking about?
to liberty, to the
Oh
freedom of
my God.
speech. They're targeting. Well, okay, I'm going to move down because you're getting aggravated, and then I'm going to
Well,
let
no.
somebody
What are you
else come up.
talking about? Look,
Yeah,
you think that it's just people that want liberty? The government's going after
yeah,
just people who want liberty?
I believe that's true. I believe that people that are stepping and fetching and carrying the water for the government are allowed to have freedom of speech, and the people that don't are considered conspiracy theorists.
Well, the reason that you're considered a conspiracy theorist is because what I just did is told you why Elon Musk was under investigation, and you made up a conspiracy as to
Yes,
why he was under investigation. That's
yes,
why
I
people
think it's
keep calling you a conspiracy theorist, because when confronted with what's happening, you don't accept that. You make up a conspiracy theory. You realize you just did that,
it's
right?
it's more than a coincidence. It's circumstantial evidence is still evidence. You do realize that
Bro,
too.
no.
It is
Okay,
evidence that
respond to
there
the
is
things
a
that I say,
targeted
please. Now
action.
I'm gonna try this again. You understand that possibly the reason people call you a conspiracy theorist is because when you're confronted with a story, instead of accepting the story, accepting the facts as we know them, whatever all the facts that we know, you launch into conspiracy theory. And what you're saying is that the government is conspiring. You have a theory that the
Yes,
government is conspiring against people who love liberty. By definition, that's a conspiracy theory. And
yes.
that's so if we're gonna be fair here, then I think it's fair to say that maybe Republicans need some deprogramming because they won't accept what's in front of their face. They have to go to conspiracy theory. They would rather reject reality in front of them than accept it. And that's why I think when I say like they need some deprogramming, that's exactly what we're talking about.
When we, okay, I agree that there is conspiracies that are not true. I agree that there needs to be deprogramming. I agree that, yeah, I'm not correct about everything. But I also want you to realize that artificial intelligence and the AI singularity with big tech giants do erase information that we could use to prove our cases that they consider propaganda or fake news or all these weaponized terms that
Yeah,
fascist
sure.
government would use against the people.
So AI is deleting all the evidence. This is another conspiracy theory. Got it. So you're, dude, your whole life is a conspiracy theory. And look, I get
Maybe
it. I
so.
know. Look, I understand why you're a Republican now because there's homes
I'm
for.
not Republican.
Well, you are. You may not identify as a Republican, but you're definitely like you literally are just spouting off right wing talking
But
points. Your entire ideology is actually conspiracy theories.
does
That's a
it
little
matter
wild,
how I
man. That's
identify,
a
or
little
we
wild.
just don't look at
No,
how
it doesn't
people
matter. It
identify?
doesn't. It doesn't. You're missing the part where I said your entire identity and political philosophy is literally almost 100% just conspiracy theory. And
Okay, but I
it's an
identify
easy
as
way to live
independent.
because nobody can prove you wrong because you can't really prove a negative. It's an easy way to live. It's a lazy way to live. But yeah, you would find a home in the Republican Party. You would. And the one thing that you don't understand, probably don't understand. Hopefully, you don't understand this, is that people weaponize people like you. The whole goal when you want to destabilize something is to just put out so much information that people are confused, where people feel like they can never find the truth. It's what happened. What happens with every fascist takeover. It's literally what Steve Bannon wrote this playbook. You can go read it. And Steve Bannon is the one that's like behind the scenes pulling the strings, like showing people how to use this playbook. He wants chaos. He wants anarchy. The idea is that you keep your electorate or your voting base confused, where they don't feel like they can trust anybody. And so they're forced to trust a person. And that person happens to be Donald Trump. That's who, for some reason, Republicans have chosen to believe. And so
I
stories,
have not
facts,
mentioned him once, by the
all
way,
of that be damned.
Jason.
All of that be Elon Musk, if you will. Like
I
Elon
do
Musk.
like Elon.
Yeah, of course you like Elon Musk. But weirdly, like you don't know all of the bad stuff about Elon Musk. Weirdly, like this
Actually, I
is for
like
some
Elon.
reason a guy that you would trust. He's been caught lying more
I
times
do
than
trust Elon.
almost anybody in the public eye, and you still think like, despite the fact that he's a liar, despite the fact that he regularly does things that are unethical, you think the government is going after him because he's what, likes liberty?
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean that's so silly.
I do want. Well, let's look at this. the definitions online on certain words are changing too.
That's happened
Communism
with
has
words
changed the
forever.
definitions. No,
That's
but
happened.
it's words are swords. They're used against the public, and that is fascism, isn't it? That they
Words
change
are not
words.
swords. Words are words.
They're used against people all the time. They're how you defend yourself. If you don't have the
Oh my.
logic and the history of what the meanings are, you can't defend yourself
Yes,
any
you
longer.
can. Okay, what does cool mean?
Okay,
What does cool mean?
okay. Let's
What does
go to
cool mean?
communism.
What does
Let's look
cool
up how
mean?
they changed the
What does
definition of
cool
communism.
mean? What does cool mean?
It means that you're not as hot as you used to be.
Okay, so what if I said you seem like a cool guy? Am I talking about the
Well, thank
temperature?
you, Jason. I appreciate that.
It's just Jay, but that's all right. Uh,
I appreciate you.
yeah. So
I know
could it
that
mean
we're
different
okay.
things if I say you're cool?
The slang word of communism is still communism, but they changed the
Does it?
definition of it.
Wait,
Why?
wait. Don't answer. Don't answer questions with a question. Okay. Do you
I want to
understand that
know
word
why they
like that
did
words?
this.
Do you understand that words evolve and that words can mean different things at different times?
I understand that, but can we
Okay.
look at
So
why they're changing the meaning of communism?
what do you mean? Why they're changing the meaning of communism? Who is first of all? Who is they? Who is changing it?
Uh, Probably the educational system that's teaching the kids that communism is good.
So oh, that's what they're. Okay. So what did they change?
They're saying that nobody owns anything, but everybody has a voice, and it's fair to be communist. So if you look
That's
up the
not.
meaning
That's
of it,
nobody's definition of communism. Nobody has
well,
ever
look it
used.
up.
That's no. What you just said is not the definition of communism. Do you want me
I
to? I
don't
can read it.
know.
It's a political theory derived from Marx advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. So
Okay,
what's
does
being so
anybody
what's
own
being
anything?
changed? What's being
Does
changed
any
there?
does anybody own anything on communism?
It's publicly owned.
But that means if you're done with it, anybody can take it, right?
No.
It's
What?
publicly owned. Well, Jones, I was listening to
No,
him the other day.
property is publicly owned, right?
Yeah, I was listening to Mr. Jones the other day, and he's all for communism. And
Great.
I'm like, why are you for communism? I'm looking it up, and it's like, geez, I always thought communism was bad, but
Well, of
they're
course.
they're preaching that this is the direction that we need to go. And yet
What's
we're
wrong?
all
What's wrong with that? If you start, I bet if you started a community, if there was like 20 people and you all wound up on an island, I bet that the way that you organized would be much more like communism than it would be like democracy.
So do you like
I think if there were 20
communism?
of you, you would probably all say like, we own this together. We're going to work together. Some of the, like the state I'm in was basically like, I live in Arizona. Now it's not communism, but it essentially it was socialism. Same with the state of Utah. It's a great way to build a society.
So is communism freedom?
No, communism is communism. What are you talking about?
Mr. Jones was saying how it's a better society for everybody
Well,
and
talk to Mr.
equality. I
Jones
want to
about
know,
that.
is that
I don't
freedom?
necessarily share his exact opinions. You can talk to him about that. But what do you say?
Well,
You know,
he won a debate
hold on.
yesterday
What you
with
said
the
is
HJF.
hold on. We got to go back because this is crazy. What you said is that we are changing the what communism means. So what are you talking about?
Well, Mr. Jones, who had 400 plus likes, and Jeff
Oh my
yesterday that only
God.
had two
No,
likes,
who is
he's a communist.
changing the definition of communism?
Do you realize that China is no longer communist per
Stop
definition?
answering questions with questions, dude. Who is changing the definition of communism? Who?
Okay,
Say a
Jay,
person or an organization. Who is changing
Jay,
it? Jay is?
artificial intelligence and people that are in power are changing the
So you don't
definition
know who. Where
of
did they change the
I don't
definition from
know.
what to what? What was the definition versus what is it now?
Communism used to be for strictly business and no human rights, no civil rights. That's what it
No,
used to be.
no, Karl. No, then you haven't read Marx. Just go read Marx. You don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
no, but that
No,
Karl
Marx.
Marx is not is what Hitler followed Karl Marx. You know that, right?
Do you know who came up with the political theory of communism?
Who?
I'll give you one fucking guess.
Not Karl Marx. That's fascism.
That's fascism? Brother, you got to go read a book. You have no
That,
idea what you're talking about. You don't
that's
know,
labeling something one thing and doing
brother.
another. Just like our
Brother, I got it.
politicians today, they put on the top letterhead
Here you
of what
go.
certain
Here's
things
here's
are.
Mr. Jones.
What's up,
Well,
buddy?
hello, Mr. Jones.
How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
So we're talking about
my
your
favorite
belief with
topic.
communism being good.
Yeah, communism is awesome.
That's what I don't understand and I don't get, and I'm not
Why?
educated enough to get that. Please educate me.
So I want you to understand that like Karl Marx didn't invent communism, right? Like it was interrogation of indigenous cultures and how they existed for, millennia prior to, imperialist nations colonizing the globe, and how like the principles of these people could be um, you know, how those principles could be applied to today's standards. Now, I need you to understand, right, that the base of communism is communal, right? Where everybody has an equitable stakehold in all things produced. There's no reason in the world that we should commodify that things that should be basic human rights, like healthcare, like food, like housing, like water, like education. These things should not be commodified. These things
Mr.
should be
Jones, I'm going to
these
let you
things should be
continue
available to
with this.
everybody equitably.
Okay, what's the difference between the not fascism but socialism and communism? What's the
Socialism is
two
simply
difference?
when people own the means of production. Like, so if you know what I'm saying, like there was an oil company, right? Or if I wanted to start a business, right? Then everybody in the business that I own or that I start would own an equitable share, and we would own the means of production and equitably distribute the proceeds from whatever we produce. Now, communism is a stateless, moneyless, classless society. These are, you know what I'm saying? Socialism is a way to work towards communism, but they're not the same thing at all.
I need you to help me understand because this is where I jump off the cliff because growing up, I was always taught communism is bad and China was communist. Yeah, I was always taught that it takes the right of the people, the civil
Told
rights,
that it was
and the
bad. Like, of course you were
corporations
taught
have
that.
the
Red
power.
Scare propaganda is like the greatest lie that America ever told. And let me tell you why they told this lie. They needed you to believe that the savages, and I say that with air quotes because I'm Afro-Indigenous, but they wanted you to believe that the way that indigenous people lived was terrible. That there was no kind of way to live. What do you mean that people don't own, you know what I'm saying, private property? What do you mean? What do you mean they don't believe in land rights? Of course they wanted you to believe that communism was
Mr.
bad.
Jones, the Amish people are 100% socialist, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Isn't that a good
for the most
community?
part.
So yeah, so I do like that kind of deal where everybody is in a tribe and they kind of help each other out.
But they're still
But I
beholden
still
to the
don't see.
government. There's still class, there's still a class structure of sorts.
I would love communities to be more like that tribal society, like that socialist. But communist, I thought, was where businesses have complete authority over the human rights, where it doesn't matter about your rights. That's what it used to be, and I know it's
That's
changed,
not
and
what it
that's
used to
where.
be. That's never what it used to be. It's
How
never
old are you,
been
Mr.
anything
Jones?
other than what I just explained to you. It's never been
No,
anything
no,
else.
Mr. Jones, how old are you?
I'm in my 40s.
Okay, I'm 47. So in
Yeah, so
school,
we're
they
we're
didn't
we're
teach that.
literally we're literally 5 years apart. So I promise you, it's never been anything different.
Oh Lord, in Arizona, that's what they taught in school, and I don't understand that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I could help with that. It depend. It's based on when you grew up, but that was just propaganda, dude.
right.
Like the enemy was Russia. Russia was communist, so therefore communist bad. And Russia wasn't even, I guess, USSR. And
Yeah,
even
USSR.
then, like what they were doing wasn't even like communism. It
Not at
really
all.
wasn't. It was just propaganda that you responded to. We had an actual fight against communists. We actually, like, the FBI would try and track down people who were communists. But you also have to remember we had a communist party here too.
Yeah,
There
let
was
me
an
let
actual
me tell
communist
you
party, and they were getting attacked.
let me tell you who they went after as communists. Let me list them off for you. Martin Luther King Jr., communist. Angela Davis, communist. James Baldwin, communist. I mean, like Malcolm X, communist, Huey P. Newton, communist. Every single person, right, that worked the Black Panther Party, communist. I mean, well, I named the leader of the Black Party, but mostly people of color. And because they were working towards, you know what I'm saying, social justice issues that involved being more communal in nature, right? And distributing people the goods and services based on their need, they were labeled as communists, and you know that sent the FBI and the CIA after them.
So USSR, was that communist or democratic?
No,
And
I mean
by
they
the way,
were
before you
they were
talk, can I
working
talk,
towards
Mr. Jones?
they were
Before you
working to.
talk,
Oh, go ahead.
can I talk?
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate you and I respect you and thank you for educating me. You seem reasonable. And yes, what you're saying is jiving with me pretty heavy right now because there is a lot of propaganda, and I do feel like I'm trying to deprogram right now. So I appreciate you immensely. I do want more civil rights, and I want more people helping each other uh, to work towards more civil rights against the abuses of government. And it sounds like you're the right guy to help me. So thank you. Please continue, and I'm going to listen for a little bit because I like when you talk.
Yeah. So the other thing that, you know what I'm saying, we have to remember is like what was going on in Cuba at the time, right? So the reason that we went after Russia or the USSR had more to do with Cuba than anything that the USSR was doing. Because they were supplying them when we started to place trade embargoes on them. The reason that we placed trade embargoes on them is the American fruit companies, right? Like literally went after the United States government and pressured them to stop what was happening in Cuba. Now, what was happening in Cuba at the time? Quite literally, they were freeing slaves off of citrus and banana plantations and sugarcane plantations. That's the reason that the whole conflict started in Cuba, is because Fidel and Che were literally freeing enslaved people from plantations. And
I
so,
find that interesting, Mr. Jones. Did you know that Cuba was almost the 48th state instead of Arizona? Uh, yeah, it had to do with the corporations there. And I believe you're correct. After looking at everything online, and I can't see that you're wrong. They absolutely were doing what you said.
yeah, and they had a puppet government, a fascist dictator, you know what I'm saying, at the time. And Che and they
Castro.
wanted to, yeah, and Castro, I don't know why, and Fidel wanted to liberate the people of Cuba. Now, had we not intervened, right, had we not sent over CIA agents, had we not sent over military personnel and things of that nature, Fidel stayed in power and became beholden to the oligarchs, right, because of intervention. He thought that he was the only he was the only person that was going to be able to protect Cuba from the United States. He believed that only he, at that point, could protect, because he had fought them off once before. Bay of Pigs, he's like, we stopped them once before. I have to stay in power so that they don't come in here and put you back into slavery. And had we never been, if we had never gotten involved, I don't believe that any of that would have happened. Like
So do you
if
believe that for America,
Venezuela is
we
another
should
perfect
be?
example. Venezuela is another perfect example. They were working towards socialism. They had a democratically elected leader, and we said, "Oh, what? You know what? They need democracy." And we went in there and tore down their government. We removed their democratically elected leader, and we replaced it with a puppet government. And look at them now.
Now, Mr. Jones, I've always been told, and again, I see the areas where I've been wrong. I don't admit to be right. I see those areas, so I don't want to think this is a pivot. This is just stuff that we're told, right? We're talking about stuff that I'm told. I was told that they spent so much money, it was out of controlled spending from too much socialism, and that's
No,
why they collapsed.
no, not at all. Not at all. So here's the problem, right? If you allow socialism, communism, any of the like, especially this close to American borders, especially like in the global South, to actually take hold and show that it works, It would bankrupt our economy. If people saw that this is all a shell game, like this is all bullshit, like inflation isn't real, it's just, corporate greed. Like if you saw that the dollar is only worth as much as we say it is because it's not backed by any commodity, like if the truth is like literally widely known, and it should be at this point, it's 2023, like everybody has access to the same information, right? Then it would bankrupt our economy. People would lose faith in the dollar. People would lose faith in all of this nonsense. People would be like, hold on, why do I have to pay for things that should be a human right? Why do I have to pay for healthcare when none of the, other, well, I mean, obviously you're paying for it through taxes, but why should I have to get, pay the most, right, in healthcare globally and receive the least amount of services? Why do I have to keep participating in this game? People would start to question those things. Why, you know what I'm saying? Do I pay the effective tax rate for me is one of the highest globally, right? However, my children receive the worst education. People would start to question these things. They'd be like, why is this? Why is this?
Now, Mr. Jones, the now when we were talking, was there out of control spending? Is that what caused their country to go under? Because that's what we're being
No,
told. And
we
how
put
do
a
we stop that
we
from
put a
happening?
puppet government in place. We put a dictator in place. And he made sure that all the oligarchs in Venezuela held all the wealth. They stopped allowing people, because if you take Venezuela, right, and you allow all of those people, right, to equitably distribute the things they produce in Venezuela, such as oil and whatever, you know what I'm saying, agriculture, and it's distributed equitably amongst all the people, which was the plan, right? Then people in America would want the same thing because it's right there. They were like, yo, I want
Now,
that too. We
this,
produce a lot of oil. We're the largest oil
yeah.
producer in the world. Why isn't that a publicly I mean, why isn't that a publicly held corporation where all of the citizens get a piece of that profit? Why?
Well, every country is full of riches, and I completely agree with you. It would be nice if that were to happen. Do we have a mechanism in place for that? But I don't want to just pivot, but I do want to mention that Brazil said the same thing about their government when their government became too big in too taxation, and they weren't allowed to produce off of their own land. And Brazil went through a lot of problems like that too. I had a chess buddy online that was telling me about it, and all the police were corrupt, and it only grabbed more corruption. How do we stop it, and how do we put a mechanism in place to where we can benefit from the economic goodities in our countries, or whatever you want to call it?
We are the corruption. Like you have to take corporations out of politics to start with. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the biggest issue. Wage theft is the largest crime in the United States. Capitalism by its nature is quite literally to subjugate people. Is the point of capitalism, right, is to make as much money as possible while paying the least amount out doing so, right? And so in order to do that, you have to pay employees the least. You have to put as little money into their education or their health care or their well-being as possible. You know that a CEO of a corporation in the United States of America can be sued if they don't do everything within their power to generate as much income as in profit. They can be
Now,
sued.
Mr. Jones, capitalism has been good for me because I'm a
Of
business
course it
owner
has.
at the end of it, and I'm debt free, and everything I have is paid for, and my life is pretty good. Uh, and I don't have employees, but I've only worked for myself. But it has it's generated a lot of wealth. So it is a deprogramming thing because that's what we were brought up with is the
Yeah.
capitalist society,
Sure.
right? So
Are you retired?
and yes, we learn to deal with what we have, and I do odd jobs here and there, only because my wife doesn't like when I stay home too much because
Yeah.
it adds sanity to the household
When's
to
the
get
last
out of
time
the
you've been
house.
to a Walmart? Just out of curiosity, nobody. When's the last time you've been to a Walmart?
Uh, Walmart. My wife does the shopping, so I don't really go to Walmart.
But you've been
I
to a
really don't
Walmart
go
before,
there.
right?
Yeah, we used to call it Wally World. I thought
Yeah,
that was pretty funny.
it
Yeah.
is. So you know that 72-year-old person, you know what I'm saying, standing at the door checking receipts?
Yes.
Do you think that they want to be there?
Yes.
Yikes.
No, no. Let me tell you. I talked to you ever see those people like the human leech, where you just want to get away from them because they're too bored and they want to find someone to talk to, and they grab that job so they can finally talk to somebody. Because when I do talk to certain people, when I go to Costco and they're doing the samples, a lot of those people are retired. They're just bored and they just like long conversations. And I do think people get tired of, oh, wait, no, I am wrong on some aspects. Some of those people have to raise their own grandchildren. That's the biggest problem, is that children aren't doing their job and they turn to drugs and they have to raise their
Get
grandchildren too.
this
There are exceptions to
information
those.
from, bro? Do you really think that that's a large portion of our society? Do you really think that a large portion of these people are raising their grandchildren because their kids are on drugs? Do you really think that?
In my general area, yes.
Bro, I'm at a loss for words. I really am. These people are working out of necessity.
You, you
Housing
have
becomes so
pockets of good
expensive
and bad everywhere.
because housing has become so expensive, because healthcare has become so expensive. You know what I'm saying? Because the cost of living, groceries, medication, so on and so forth has become so expensive that at 67 to 72 years old, right, where the average person kicks the bucket, they have to still work. Do you think that's the human experience that we were meant to have?
No, no, I don't. Myself, as someone who's been working since I was 11, my dad died at 48. My grandparents took care of me, and school wasn't important. Work was important. I've never been on government assistance. I've never been on welfare. I've never been on anything. It's just money was always easy to make because people always want you to do stuff, and they're too lazy to do it themselves. And I found that it's easy to make money because there's always something somebody doesn't want to do.
Sure. I mean, as much as I love your anecdotal story, right? And I do. Like, I mean, I've worked pretty much my whole life. I had a paper route, you know what I'm saying, when I was 12 years old. I own a business now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. But the vast majority of citizens in the United States, 80% as a matter of fact, will die in the same or worse socioeconomic status they were born into. 80%. There is no ladder, it's a pole. There's no rungs. Understand what I'm saying?
Hey, Mr. Jones, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not discrediting the majority of what's going on in America. But that paper route, because I know your age now, uh, a lot of that was taken over by people that had cars. Because when I had a paper route, it was only for a couple years, and then pretty soon they gave it to people that had vehicles because they grabbed multiple routes and actually delivered them by vehicles. So
Sure.
that's pretty crazy that you actually had one because you're 7 years younger than me, and
Five.
majority of
5
that
years
was
younger.
taken over.
5 years
Well,
younger
five,
than me.
okay, but yeah, that's crazy that you actually had that experience.
I
But
also had a
I'm
paper
proud of
route,
you.
and I got fired because they found that I was dumping the newspapers in a dumpster.
Yeah, that's lit.
Yeah.
I just left it and went on to do a different job. I went to go work at a model store, like where they'd have like model trains and model cars and model airplanes and shit like that. That's what I did next at 14. And then I went to go work for TGI Fridays.
Nobody. I forgot your
And I
name.
used to
You were
love
born. You were
those. I
raised in
used to have
Arizona.
gift
Is that right?
cards.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Well,
You said you were
well,
raised in
TGI
Arizona.
Fridays. Hey,
Nobody.
Jay, hold on, Jay.
Well, I know.
Mr.
I,
Jones,
I want to get us back on.
TGI
I want to get us
Fridays,
back on
they're
track.
all
Sorry.
gone from Arizona, by
I
the way.
appreciate it.
That's crazy.
You were raised in Arizona. Is that right?
Yes, I'm a fourth
What part of
generation.
Arizona?
Well, third generation.
What part of Arizona were you raised in?
Phoenix.
Okay, so you know, like the East Valley Mesa, you know that was like the agricultural center of Phoenix, right? For like in the 1800s, up until even past when they became a state, right? Like the grid system,
There
the
was a
reason
lot
that
of desert out here. Yes, that's
right,
for
the
sure.
reason that it was a grid system was because the Mormon settlers built everything in a grid, right?
That's in Mesa.
It it's
We didn't go in Mesa.
it's also goes through Scottsdale, but the point of this is before Arizona was a
We really
state,
don't go to Scottsdale either. I try to stay
and
where the
before
working
hold
class
on,
is.
just
That's
listen,
my
hold on,
people.
just listen, okay? Before Arizona was a state, the valley was largely settled by groups of people who acted just like communists. the Mesa, the entire East Valley was settled by people who took everything that they had and they gave it to one distributor. It was a Bishop's storehouse, they call it. There was a storehouse. They took all of their food, everything that they raised, everything that the oranges, the alfalfa, the lettuce, the cattle, everything they did, they put it together in a community storehouse. And where you were raised was literally built on these principles. And the reason is because when people are left, like when a group of people come together, nobody ever chooses capitalism. They don't do that. When you go to a new place and there's a group of people and you're like, shit, we got to get this together. We're starting a new community. Almost always they choose something that's very similar to communism. That way everybody works, but everybody's taken care of. So if somebody has a job that nobody else wants to do, that doesn't mean that that person is homeless. And if somebody can't work, that person is still taken care of. Because of course that's how you would do it. The argument is that like in any scenario, if we had a group of people and we were going to start a community, we almost certainly would do this. So how it's been turned and twisted into somehow it's evil to work together as a community, to pool your resources, is the reason that we don't have nice things. Mr. Jones talked about this when he talked about healthcare. The reason we have shitty healthcare here, the reason it's 4 times more expensive and most people can't get coverage, and even the people that have coverage, they can't even like afford to use their coverage, is because of capitalism. What we could do is we could pool all of our money together and negotiate as one big negotiating class, and like every other country, have really cheap drug prices, cheap treatment, and we would be good. Like people in America would get the care that they need, the quality care that they need. Nobody's kids would be not getting taken care of if they're sick. You wouldn't have to choose whether or not to pay your rent or go see the doctor. All of this we could actually do if we hadn't been had it forced down our throats for 50 years that communism is bad, socialism bad. Anytime you work together as a community is bad. That's essentially what Republicans are saying. If you choose to work together, if you choose to coalesce together, that's a bad thing. It's evil. And that's what's crazy about how. Do you have background noise on? Could you? Yeah. That's what's crazy about how much we've been indoctrinated. That even the most sensible solutions that we would all agree upon if we didn't have politics, we can't agree on because we've been told socialism bad, communism bad, all of this stuff bad for no reason. There's no argument for it. It's how we would all do things if we created our own communities. But when you say like communist bad because USSR, then it paints this picture. Communist bad because there was violence in Cuba. Okay, so communism means violence. Communism means that everybody's poor. Communism means war. But that's not actually what it means. It's just what you've been told that it means. And so anytime somebody brings that up, your knee-jerk reaction is that's bad. Now, who do you think would want you to think that about communism? Would it be maybe the people in control, the people with all the money?
Yeah, 2% of our wealth, 2% of our wealth is owned by. 80% of our wealth is owned by 2% of the population. That's crazy.
And those are the people in the those are the people in the room writing the bills. Those are the people in the room saying like, "Hey, no, we can't have this redistribution of wealth. We can't change this system. The system has worked so well. Look at us. Look how rich we are. Look how
Hey,
great we're
Mr.
doing.
Jones.
Only in America could this happen." Those people, the people at the top who benefited from a system that doesn't work for all of us, are the ones in the room writing the bill. And people like even yourself, like you're sitting back on, yeah, it must be right. It must be right because I had a small business and I did well. But dude, look around. Look at the people that are
Hey,
still
Mr.
working
Jones.
late into their life.
Hey, can I
Look at.
play? Hey, are you
Go
a
ahead.
Christian? Are you a Christian? Nobody.
I was raised Catholic.
Oh,
I'm more
lit.
Christian today. But yeah, my main
Catholic is
people that
Christian.
I like are
I just have a
I do
question.
like Catholics. I like Catholics a lot. That seems to be the main people that get me the most. The work people that show up to work every day. People that just treat their family well. People that it's just a better for me.
Dope.
That's how
Can
I
we play?
identify. Yeah.
Great. Can we play? I want to play a game with you, if you don't mind. Uh, RTP.
Before we do that, Mr. Jones, what Jay was talking about isn't really communism. It was capitalism, where we all start something and build wealth together. That is
No,
capitalism.
it's
But
not.
communism is where the government takes it and distributes it back to
There
us,
is
right?
no
That's what we're
government in
talking.
communism. There is no government.
So
There's no government.
how do
There's no
how
government.
do,
There's no
I know,
government.
but explain that more. Explain that more. How do you deal with no government? Who makes the big decisions during war?
So
We
what?
collectively make those
Wait,
decisions.
so that's what happened in Arizona. There was no government. In the East Valley, it literally was like a group of people who were just Mormons. They all had the same belief system. They took from their crop, from whatever they had, the money that they had, anything they traded, they took it to the storehouse. They voluntarily gave that to the storehouse, and
And
the
that's
storehouse
socialism.
redistributed it. Now they would have somebody in charge of like distribution, but there was no centralized government. There wasn't a vote. It was literally like they pooled their resources together, and people had to work at the storehouse too to make sure that the food didn't spoil and that it was distributed properly. But there was no
Right.
centralized government. Arizona wasn't even a state. They weren't a state until 1912. So from like the 1860s until 1912, the entire East Valley of Arizona ran literally as like a communist community.
Yeah, I want to
What
play.
would
I
stop
want.
people from
Hold on one
doing that
second,
today,
nobody.
though?
Nobody. Hold on a second, friend. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to tell me if this is Christianity, right, or this is communism, right? This is the game I want to play.
Is
Every
this a
man.
two-part question, or are
No,
you
it
going to
just
ask me one
you just
series
no.
of things and I can
I'm
only
just
have
going to ask
one
you three
answer,
things. I'm just going to ask you three things, and you tell me if it's Christianity or communism. That's
one
all.
at a time, right?
Yeah, one at a time. One at a time. Every man should be valued according to his ability. Is that Christianity or communism?
Every man should be valued by their
According,
ability.
according to their abilities. Yeah.
I don't know if that's Christianity.
Oh, gotcha.
That that's not
So
Christianity.
So you think it's communism? Got it. Okay. Distribute. We should distribute all of the resources to people according to their needs. Is that Christianity or communism?
Christianity, you do that. It's a tithe.
You distribute to people according to their needs.
That would be a tithe.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Nobody should claim private ownership of property. Right. Everything that is owned should be held in common, so that there's no needy among you. Anybody who owns land or houses should sell them and bring all the proceeds of what was sold, and it should be distributed to each as they have need. Christianity or communism?
Does not sound like the Roman Catholic Church does it.
Yeah. All of those things are from the book of Acts.
That's probably why I'm not Catholic anymore.
Bad news. Christians also believe in that book.
Yeah.
I believe in God, but there's a lot of stuff that I think that was man-made where they've done it to control, and that's what online social
Did
media has
God
done.
did God did
It
God grant individual property rights? Like in the book of Genesis when it was Adam and Eve, was it
Jay,
like yeah,
Jay,
yeah.
I'm not going over the Bible with you
I don't
because I'm
care. I'm
not that
asking you a
person,
question. No, I'm asking you a question. If you're saying that
but I
like
don't
that's
know.
why you're not Catholic, I'm just wondering like where did these property rights come from then?
I just
If God's
follow
not a
whatever my
communist, if God
gut tells me.
didn't he give
My
us he
gut
gave
tells me good and evil. That's it.
well,
I
but
don't go with
God
this
said he gave
anymore.
us this land. He gave us the trees, the animals, all that stuff so that we could be taken care of, right? That's what
Right.
it was there for.
Right.
Right? And he didn't say like it's only for certain people, it's only for people who work hard. Some people should have more than other. He literally said like here's all the people in existence and here's what I've given you to sustain yourself. Like
Right.
at its very core, it's communism. There's no property rights. It's not exclusive. There was nobody that was excluded from having access to this stuff. Like this is all man-made stuff that we invented later, and it's honestly like it's all out of greed. It's because people want more than others. It's
Yeah.
really what it boils down to. Or people
I
don't
mean,
want to take care of others, or people want to
Jay,
compare themselves
quite
to others.
literally, the book of like if you read the book of Matthew, like it is in its entirety, Matthew 25 is my favorite, right? Verses 31 through 46. Quite literally, the only way you get into heaven is to treat the least of these. You know what I'm saying? To take care of the sick, the poor, the unhoused, those that are in prison, the fatherless child, the widowed woman. You know what I'm saying? Like quite literally, that's how you get into heaven, by taking care of the least of these. Jesus himself said, whatever you have done unto the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you've also done unto me. And whatever you have not done for them, you've also not done for me.
hey, Mr. Jones. if you were to create a communion or a tribe, and you allowed me to join, I would follow the rules because I like your society. But when you have multiple people that have different beliefs, including Jay, they argue against biblical things and against God. When you see people argue against God, that's not going to work because they do things that are evil for self-interest. So there's certain points
You
where
know, it'd be
you
very
can't have
easy.
something like that
Sure.
in this kind of society.
Great,
It's a
but it's
free
not.
society.
But saying that it would be too hard to do is just a cop out, right? So you have to understand that the human existence, right, is 285,000 years old, right? And so for the vast majority of human existence, we worked in a communal nature. You didn't go to the medicine person in your village and tell them that you were sick, and they were like, "Oh shit, you got to bring me 6 fish, and then maybe, just maybe, I'll help you out." But I'm not going to help you out all the way. I'll make you just well enough so that you can get your ass back to work until you can get me 6 more fish. You know what I'm saying? So that I can just keep you alive just long enough to keep working. That's not how it worked. Or if you went to the people within your society and you said, "Look, I need housing. Like I don't have any shelter." They didn't say, "Oh, well, you gotta go and kill me 6 buffalo or bring me back." You know what I'm saying? Like uh to gazelle or something like that, and then we'll build you a house. That's not how it works. In addition
Hey,
to that,
hey,
like all
Mr. Jones.
people, yeah.
When it comes to something like that, nobody's going to outwork me. When I feel like I'm in a family, or if I'm in something like that, my job is to make sure that I put my hole in it. And I try to outwork everybody. I try to pull my weight. The idea of that to me sounds good. I can do it. And the fact that the Mormon community that Jay was talking about did something like that, that's a good thing too. The fact that the Amish people did something like that, that's a good thing too. But you can't have outsiders. So you take away some of the freedoms for the betterment of everybody, but everybody has to agree within that area
No,
of
you don't take away
what's
freedom.
right.
If people don't want to participate, they don't have to. That's real freedom. Hey, if you don't want to participate, you don't have to be here. And it'd be really easy to identify the people that don't want to participate. In addition to that, like the fact that people only value those who produce, you know what I'm saying, labor, as if there's nothing else that drives society, like entertainment's not important, like art's not important. You know what I'm saying? Like there's other things that are important within a society other than just being a laborer.
I can only give what I have the ability to do. I'm not a scholar, as we can all see, especially in the comments. I work with my hands. I do what I need to live off of my sweat equity. So if I can add value, that's where I'd probably add the value, correct?
Sure, if that's what you're doing. But imagine if we freed up people's time to do things that they're actually interested in, things that they're actually passionate about. Imagine all the wondrous things people could do if their time was freed up to do those wondrous things. I need you to understand that capitalism does not breed innovation. As a matter of fact, it stifles it. Because if you look at Amazon, for example, right? If there's somebody who comes up with a brilliant idea and they post it on Amazon to sell, Amazon will see that that thing is selling well, and then they'll have another manufacturer, probably, you know what I'm saying, in a developing country, create a very similar product, almost identical, and then sell it, you know what I'm saying, at less than you were selling your product for, essentially icing you out. Or right, they'll buy the patent for whatever it is that you've created, and they'll put that shit on a shelf. There's no reason in the world that in 2023, with all the advancements that we have in technology, right, that we should have to buy a new TV or a new cell phone or a new computer pretty much every year just to stay up with the times. Or that, you know what I'm saying, cars break down, new cars break down more than the older cars did. Or that we're still relying on fossil fuels to, you know what I'm saying, for energy resources. Like none of those things should exist any longer. But they do because of corporate greed.
I like that. And America's big enough to where why couldn't we create different societies within it that do exactly that and test the theory? Why could you not do that? That's the question. We have
Because
a
it would
right.
upend, you know what I'm saying, all of the corporations that have a stronghold on on America. Do you know, like, dog food, almost all dog food in the United States is made in like 3 different facilities. They just put a different label on the bag. If you go into Walmart or grocery store right now and you look at Frosted Flakes, there's 19 different brands of Frosted Flakes on the shelf. That's not innovation. That's not innovation. Innovation, right, is bred out of necessity. Like if you see a need within a society, you know what I'm saying, then somebody creative will fulfill that need. That's where innovation comes from, right? But capitalism stifles that. That's why Cuba, a communist country, by the way, that's why Cuba, right, has found a cure for lung cancer. That's why Cuba's number one export is doctors.
Mr. Jones, if you truly want to create a society and you're welcoming people like me to the society, a township or an area, why couldn't people start that? Why can't we just start that now? Why do we have to wait on a government that's not working for us to do what we need to
I
do in
agree.
order to live better?
It's going to require a lot of people to divest from the system, and
But
people are afraid to do that. Fear.
here's what I'd ask though. Like some of the things, like even if you don't want to live in this ideal world that Mr. Jones is putting out there, we've at least covered. And I'm doing this because we're running out of time. Just so you know, I have a hard cutoff in like 6 minutes. But we've covered a lot of ideas, nobody that you agree with. Like you've heard some of these ideas, and you're like, yeah, I would like a society like that. But the society that you're advocate that you like, the society that you think would be beneficial, is not the society that is being advocated for by the right. When you talk about taking care of people's health care, when you talk about lowering the price of prescription drugs, when you talk about people being able to have jobs that they enjoy that provide meaning for them, when you talk about small businesses being able to innovate without being stifled. When he was talking about Amazon, Amazon did one of the dirtiest things you'll ever hear. They had a venture capital fund, and they would use that venture capital fund to get these small businesses, like they get ideas and they would fund these ideas. And then exactly what Mr. Jones was talking about, then they would steal those ideas, and because of their capital, they could make them cheaper, and they essentially would fund these people to make ideas, they'd steal their ideas and run them out of business. The things that we're talking about, limiting giant corporations like this, limiting the power of billionaires by literally saying you can't be a billionaire. You're not allowed to make that much money off of the backs of everybody else. All these things would make our society much closer to the one that Mr. Jones wants and the one that you're advocating for. So the question is, like, why keep staying with the party that just is advocating over and over and over that we can't do anything to billionaires? We couldn't possibly take some money from billionaires. We couldn't possibly restructure this system. We have to leave it as it is. The money has to stay at the top, and it just is what it is. This is America. We do things better. Like, why not join the party that says we want to tear this shit down? We want to make it more equitable. And I'm saying that there's plenty of Democrats that aren't going to do a goddamn thing about that, that are just basically Republicans. I agree with that. But there are also a lot of Democrats who want to tear this shit down and make it more equitable. And if we get more people like that in office, the world you are going to leave for your children, for your grandchildren, will be a more equitable and positive place. It'll be possible for them to follow their dreams and not have to worry about, like, should I take this shitty job so that I can feed my children, or could I follow my dreams and not feed my children? They don't have to make that choice. They don't have to decide, like, oh, I have to keep this job because if I lose this job, I don't have health insurance. So I'm going to be miserable for 30 years. I'm not going to do anything that I want to do just so that if my kid breaks his arm, I don't go bankrupt. It's a more equitable world we're advocating for, and it blows my mind every single day when I talk to Republicans who are like, no, we can't do this because, like you said at the beginning, you've been led to believe socialism and communism are simply evil. So anything that a Republican can smear as socialism or communism, your knee-jerk reaction is going to be to run from that, or to think that it's evil, or even without all the knowledge that you should have, to criticize it. I'm just saying, like, this was a good conversation. Mr. Jones, you're fucking brilliant. I'm glad you came up here. But like when we can agree
I
on all
would
this
like to
stuff and
address
then we
Mr.
walk,
Jones.
well, I'm still talking, and we can walk
Okay.
away. We can walk away from this, and we all agree on things. Then why can't we get you to then vote for the people who would do these things?
I don't think that Mr. Jones is a Democrat. He's a
Oh
revolutionary.
my
And that's a
Christ!
good thing. We need more
I just asked you a
revolutionary people.
question. Wait, I just asked you a question, and did you listen to a word I said?
He's not for a party. He's for a new
Oh my
world.
Christ!
I
What
like that.
question did I ask you? Do you want me to ask it
To vote
again?
Democrat.
Because it seemed like you were just waiting to talk to Mr. Jones while I talked. Can I ask it
Yes,
again?
that's exactly
Okay.
right.
Okay. Well, don't do that because that's not what people are supposed to do. If you can agree with all these policies, why do you keep aligning yourself with the party that's not going to do any of them, that is morally opposed to all these ideas?
I don't think that Mr. Jones is preaching things that Democrats are preaching. He's a
Brother, I
revolutionary.
don't know if you
That's
heard
what we
me,
need to go
brother.
for.
I didn't say Mr. Jones one damn time, except for to say that he was brilliant and thanks for coming on. I'm asking you a
JJ, I
specific
never
question.
agreed with
I'm
you like
asking
I
you a
did him.
specific question: why you won't vote for people who advocate for things like universal health care or a high tax rate for billionaires, or for like public education? Why won't you vote for people who advocate for this if you truly think these are all good things?
I would vote for Mr. Jones. I like his ideas.
All right.
He's not a Democrat.
All
He's a
right,
revolutionary.
dude. I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. Your biggest fan has left. I kicked because I'm out
Okay.
of time.
No, so
Okay,
listen,
dude. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. I love it when you come up, especially this isn't. This is definitely not where I'm an expert, so I appreciate it. I even
no,
took notes.
it's all good. The only thing that I want to say, he is right. I'm certainly not a Democrat. They're still capitalist, right? But at the end of the day, we have to make the decision that is best for ourselves and our family. And the question you were asking him is the important question, right? If you are so upset about this, the state of the union, so to speak, and you are worried about inflation and about the cost of your health care and about how you can't afford gas and things of that nature, then you have to look at who you voted for and what they're voting for. These people are supposed to be representatives of you, and you have to ask yourself, are these people representing me? Are these people actually representing my best interest? Are they representing my best interest? And majority of the time, the answer to that is going to be no. I know this to be true. There's one party that I can tell you everything that they're against, but I can't tell you anything that they stand for. And there's another party, you know what I'm saying, that I can objectively look at what they stand for. And so I'm going to go for the people that are standing for something and not just simply existing to be against shit.
I love it. Yeah, I agree with that. I appreciate it, though, dude. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You didn't have to do all that, so I appreciate you taking the time. Good job gifting Mr. Jones too. He deserves that.
Have a good day.
All right, brother. We'll see you. All right, guys, that's it for me. There's my 1 o'clock hard cutoff time. I'm going to go spend some time with my daughter now. It's going to be a great Friday night. And I will see you guys on Monday. If you want a link to the Discord, just shoot me a DM or shoot a DM to Infectious Bites. We'll get you a link to that Discord. Sorry, we are a little slow to get to those lately. I apologize. We just got a lot going on. Link for any merchandise. You see my shirt here. We have all sorts of merchandise. The link is in my link tree. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us here. And I will see you guys bright and early Monday morning. And I may see you sometime this weekend. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for coming on and giving us a lesson. Thank you for Mr. Nobody. I appreciate it. I just had to drop it because you wouldn't answer the question. But I do appreciate you taking all the time and being kind. And I will catch you guys all later.